Chapter 1537. Hee Junior Martial Sister Qi, don't worry. That Xiaohua guy was only in the 4th layer of the Qi refining realm. And we've already searched his storage pouch. There's no way he could have taken the thunder-devouring bead. All of our plans are just guesses, the sect's punishment. Senior Martial Brother Gao, didn't you see how many storage pouches Xiaohua had? If he put the thunder-devouring bead in his storage pouch and buried it somewhere, there wouldn't be any trace of it on his body. Junior Martial Sister Qi sighed. We should have used soul searching to force him to tell us the truth. How could we? We're only at the foundation establishment stage. Even Master and Martial Ancestor don't dare to use the soul searching technique lightly. If we use it, that little cultivator will definitely become an idiot. Senior Brother Gao exclaimed. Haha, Senior Martial Brother Gao is really soft-hearted. A foundation-building middle-stage cultivator laughed. If it was I would have used soul-searching first. Who cares if he's an idiot? Your Xuanyan school's disciples can, they're all decisive. Junior Martial Sister Qi glanced at him and said, My Senior Martial Brother Gao felt that it wasn't easy for that rogue cultivator to cultivate, so he didn't have the heart to kill him. If he really was a thunder-controlling sect disciple, Senior Martial Brother Gao would have done it already. Seeing Junior Martial Sister Qi protecting Senior Martial Brother Gao, the Xuanyan school disciple looked at the smiling 7 possibilities sect disciple and tactfully shut his mouth. Look, what's that? The smiling 7 possibilities sect disciple's eyes lit up as he pointed at the direction Senior Martial Brother Gao was facing. Thunder Junior Martial Sister Qi and Senior Martial Brother Gao turned around and saw the dark clouds and lightning above Mount Lamo. Their expressions changed greatly as if they lost their souls. Senior Martial Brother Gao, fellow Taoist Qi. The 7 possibilities sect and Xuanyan school disciples clearly hadn't been to Shihuang town and didn't see the thunder-devouring beads phenomenon. The celestial phenomenon soon disappeared. Looking at the dissipating dark clouds above the Lama Mountains, Junior Martial Sister Qi sighed and waved her hand, sending out several message talismans. Senior Martial Brother Gao turned his head with a wry smile and said, Fellow Taoists, send a message to your respective sections. That thing has fallen into the hands of the thunder-controlling sect. Ah, could it be that Qian Qinghua is back? It's still that little itinerant cultivator. Everyone was a little confused as they asked all at once. Fellow Taoists, these, I don't know either. Senior Martial Brother Gao cupped his hands and said, I have only seen the strange phenomenon of that thing in Shihuang town. As for the next step, I still need the guidance of the sect. With that, Senior Martial Brother Gao sighed and sat down again. He closed his eyes. It was unknown whether he was regretting or cultivating. The other cultivators looked at each other and sent out their communication talismans. They were all waiting for the orders from their sections. Leaving aside the panic of the Foundation establishment disciples at the foot of the Imperial Thunder School, in the Great Thunder Hall, Master Qian Lazy had just sealed the thunder-devouring bead and was about to put it into his storage bag when he heard a surprised shout from below the hall. Sect Master! Is this the thing Qinghua found? Xiaohua turned his head and saw that it was a male and female cultivator who were quite old. They quickly walked over with happy expressions. That child Xiaohua suddenly thought of Fairy Xianhua's words and felt that it was absurd for no reason. Haha, Jin Sheng, you came just in time. Look at this thunder-devouring bead. Master Qian Lazy opened his hand, and the thunder-devouring bead flew in the air again. Qinghua found the thunder-devouring bead? This is the thunder-devouring bead that our sect's Ancestor Qianyun found? Zhen Sheng's face was even more excited than the others. Haha, it is this thunder-devouring bead. Master Qian Lazy smiled and put away the thunder-devouring bead. He said, Ancestor Qianyun found the thunder-devouring bead and observed the birth and death of lightning in the thunder-devouring bead. He comprehended the thunder amplification technique and thus ascended. That was why the Imperial Thunder School's orthodoxy was left on the Dawn Rain continent. All the formations and restrictions in the Thunder Mountain Range were set up according to the thunder amplification technique. Our Imperial Thunder School's foundation, the Thunder Pool, was also refined by Ancestor Qianyun according to the thunder-devouring bead. Today, our Imperial Thunder School has obtained the Thunder-Devouring Bead. This is a sign of our school's prosperity. Congratulations, Sect Master. Fairy Xianhua cupped her hands and said, with the Thunder-Devouring Bead, Sect Master can also comprehend the supreme scriptures of our school. Your cultivation will also improve. It won't be hard to reach the spirit-severing stage. Congratulations, Sect Master. Taoist Lei Meng and the others also bowed and said, thank you all for your good intentions. Master Qianlazy seemed to be in good spirits. He smiled and said, the path that our school can explore is also a path that everyone can take. The future of our Imperial Thunder School is still in the hands of all of us. We are willing to do our best for the revival of our school. Taoist Miyu and the others replied with a smile. Good boy. Raise the clouds and ascend. Xiaohua, who was at the side, was already fascinated. He thought, this Imperial Thunder School actually has a cultivator who can ascend. The Imperial Thunder School's sect master is only a nascent soul stage cultivator, not even a spirit-severing stage cultivator. This Imperial Thunder School actually has a cultivation method for ascending? Ascending? What kind of realm is that? This Thunder-Devouring Bead. Looks like its power is still limited. I'm afraid it will take a long time to refine it. As for comprehending it, it's still too early. Master Qianlazy sat back down on the praying mat. Everyone else also sat down. Then, Master Qianlazy said lightly, that's right. If it's a fully formed Thunder-Devouring Bead, how can a foundation establishment stage kid like Qinghua get it? Fairy Xianhua said with a smile. Qian Qinghua chuckled. Actually, for my Imperial Thunder sect, comprehending the thunder amplification method is secondary. The most important thing is that the Thunder-Devouring Bead must be in the hands of my Imperial Thunder sect. Why is that? Duijie asked curiously. Is it possible that all the Thunder-Devouring Beads in the world must be taken into our Imperial Thunder School? You little girl. Taoist Lei Meng scolded with a smile. All the Thunder-Devouring Beads in the world? It's already not bad to have a Thunder-Devouring Bead in 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even 100,000 years. According to our school's records, the Thunder-Devouring Bead that Ancestor Qian Yin obtained was something that happened tens of thousands of years ago. Reverend Miyu said with a smile. Duijie and Zhensheng's cultivation is still low. They don't know the origin of the Thunder-Devouring Bead. Plus, they came too late and didn't see the power of the Thunder-Devouring Bead. They also don't know what the Thunder-Devouring Bead does to the restrictions of our Imperial Thunder School. Duijie and Zhensheng looked at each other. They were both confused. Master Qianlazy said with a smile. Didn't I just say it? The Thunder-Devouring Bead contains thunder birth and destruction. As the name suggests, the Thunder-Devouring Bead can devour thunder and lightning. The restrictions and formations of our Imperial Thunder School all originate from the Thunder Pool. Isn't the Thunder-Devouring Bead the nemesis of all the formations and restrictions of our Imperial Thunder School? If Shanghua sect, Qiqiao sect, or Xuanyan sect get their hands on the Thunder-Devouring Bead, it's fine if they don't covet our Imperial Thunder School, but if they do, they can use the Thunder-Devouring Bead to break all the formations of our Imperial Thunder School. Ah! Zhensheng and Duijie suddenly realized. Clearly, they were scared. Humph. They must know the use of the Thunder-Devouring Bead. That's why Zhensheng said fiercely. But you're wrong. Reverend Lei Tin waved his hand and said, first, the Thunder-Devouring Bead was snatched by Qinghua. Second, if Sun Yunzi knew the use of the Thunder-Devouring Bead, he would have done it himself. Ha ha ha, Lei Tan, you're right. Master Qianlazy laughed. Sect Master Fairy Xianhua suddenly thought of something. Her voice trembled as she said, Sect Master, you said that the Thunder-Devouring Bead contains thunder birth and destruction. Then our Imperial Thunder School's Thunder Pool, ah? Yes, the Thunder Pool. Master Qianlazy's smile froze on his face. He was even more surprised. Our Imperial Thunder School's Thunder Pool was created by our ancestor by imitating the Thunder-Devouring Bead. However, Master Qianlazy didn't finish his sentence. He looked around and said with a smile, this matter needs to be discussed carefully with our ancestor and the others. We can't confirm it for now. We were talking so happily that we actually forgot the biggest hero of our Imperial Thunder School. Of course, a few nascent soul stage cultivators and 2 gold core stage cultivators were talking here. Helplessness and Xiaohua stood there respectfully. To be honest, they were really reserved. Moreover, these words faintly revealed many secrets of the Imperial Thunder School. Helplessness was only a late foundation establishment stage disciple, and Xiaohua was even worse. How could they dare to listen? The 2 of them almost covered their ears. Now that Master Qian Lazy changed the topic to them, their hearts relaxed. Helplessness straightened his back and the smile on his face became even brighter. Xiaohua, why don't you tell me everything that happened? After all, it was a lot of hard work. Master Qian Lazy's voice was gentle. Instead, he was more like an amiable old man. Xiaohua's heart warmed. He bowed and under the gazes of the 8 people, he told them how he met Qian Qinghua in the transportation formation of Lu Yang's Kai family. Afterwards, he was chased by Kai Hongfeng and met Qian Qinghua again. Afterwards, Qian Qinghua gave him the thunder-devouring bead. He was frightened and scared as he took the storage pouch, hid and searched, left Shihuang town, and then went to the Fu family of course. Xiaohua didn't know how many times he had thought about this story. There were 2 points that were hard to explain. One was that he took the thunder-devouring bead out of Shihuang town. The second was that he escaped from the hands of a foundation establishment stage cultivator. However, Xiaohua also understood that he was now a disciple of the Imperial Thunder School. The stronger he was, the better it would be for the Imperial Thunder School. Moreover, he brought back such an important item like the thunder-devouring bead to the Imperial Thunder School. The Imperial Thunder School wouldn't treat him lightly. Even if they had any doubts, he still did it. The Imperial Thunder School had no choice but to believe him. Sure enough, when they heard that Xiaohua actually foolishly hid the storage pouch and then secretly took it out, the 8 people looked at each other in dismay. Fairy Xianhua even sighed. "Ai, you child, you've really suffered." That's right. A divine soul-searching technique from a divine soul-searching sect disciple could easily deal with him. To say that he used such a stupid method to escape was really difficult and lucky. When they heard that Xiaohua actually escaped from the hands of 4 foundation establishment stage cultivators, the 8 people remembered that this guy also met Qian Qinghua in Luyang after escaping from the hands of foundation establishment stage cultivators. Unconsciously, their faces showed joy. Chapter 1538. Actually, in the eyes of Master Qian Lazy and the other nascent soul cultivators, there wasn't much difference between qi refining and foundation establishment cultivators. Besides, Xiaohua had always been able to hide his cultivation, so they didn't think it was too unreasonable. But when they heard that Xiaohua had escaped from 4 cultivators with higher cultivation than him, Master Qian Lazy couldn't help but ask, "Xiaohua, can you fly very fast?" "Yes, Disciple has learned a nameless technique that can increase my flying speed. And Disciple is very good at flying." Xiaohua knew that Qian Qinghua didn't die, and that Qian Qinghua had seen him fly, so he didn't hide it. Martial Uncle Qianhua also praised Disciple, saying that I was even faster than our sect's lightning escape technique. Xiaohua's words were 80% true and 20% false. There were some strange things that he didn't hide, which successfully confused everyone. Qian Lazy laughed and said, "That's good. Xiaohua, you should join my Qianlei Palace. My sect will find you the best gold core disciple to teach you the thunder escape technique as a reward for your contribution to my Imperial Thunder sect." Sect Master, Master Qian Lazy couldn't take it anymore. He cupped his hands and said, "Xiaohua has been accepted by our Thunder Palace as a disciple. You can't take away his love." Ah! Xiaohua had goosebumps all over his body. "Martial Ancestor, how can you say that?" "Oh, I forgot. Xiaohua is an official disciple who went through the disciple selection." Master Qian Lazy seemed to have just woken up, and said apologetically, "Oh right. Master Qian Lazy wants to negotiate with you. How about giving Xiaohua to our Heavenly Thunder Palace? He was saved by Qianhua, and he fulfilled Qianhua's wish. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing for Qianhua to be his master?" Ah, Qianhua? When Xiaohua thought of Qian Qinghua's boorish appearance, he felt gloomy and helpless. He wanted to say something but didn't dare to refute, which made his face and neck red. Lei Tan's spiritual master looked at him helplessly, feeling somewhat disappointed. When Lei Tan's spiritual master spoke, Xiaohua bowed and said, "Thank you for your kind intentions, sect master." Disciple didn't enter the eyes of martial uncles during the disciple selection. It was master who chose disciple at first glance. How can disciple hurt master's heart? That's helplessly muttered. I've been working so hard to guard the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Why didn't Zhenlei Palace inform me that they were going to select disciples? Although their voices were soft, what kind of cultivation did they have? How could he not understand? Zhen Sheng's expression changed slightly, and he stole a glance at Qian Leizi. However, Qian Leizi acted as if he didn't hear Zhen Sheng and laughed. "Xiaohua, you really are a loyal person. It seems like Qinghe was really lucky to meet you that day." Forget it, forget it. Xiaohua, you can be helplessly's disciple. This is Zhenlei Palace's disciple selection rules. It's not good for me to interfere. Master Qian Leizi waved his hand. However, you've made such a great contribution to our Imperial Thunder sect even before joining us. Our Imperial Thunder sect has always been fair in its rewards and punishments. Tell us, and we'll consider it. Red Cloud's Ascension Technique. Xiaohua shouted these 6 words in his heart almost without thinking. Of course, this was only Xiaohua's wishful thinking. After thinking for a while, Xiaohua really didn't have anything he wanted. He was already a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect. He could get anything he wanted in the 10,000 Thunder Valley. What's the difference between now and later? Reporting to Sect Master. Disciple used to be a loose cultivator. Now that I can become a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect, I am already overjoyed. I don't lack any cultivation methods or medicinal pills. Disciple has thought for a long time, but I can't think of anything I want. You child fairy Xianhua smiled kindly. It's rare for the sect master to be so generous. Why don't you think about it more? How about this, sect master? Give Xiaohua some more medicinal pills. In addition, the mental cultivation method of the Heavenly Thunder Palace. That won't do either. Helplessly was a disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Palace. Although Xiaohua could be bestowed with a special cultivation method of the Heavenly Thunder Palace, helplessly couldn't do that. Reporting to Sect Master, the medicinal power of the clear flower pill in Disciples' meridians is enough for me to reach the foundation establishment stage. Let's talk about this later. Xiaohua cupped his hands and said. However, his heart suddenly moved. He rolled his eyes and said, "If Sect Master is kind enough, Disciple would like to. Could you give Disciple a chance to read more cultivation methods?" When Disciple was a loose cultivator, Disciple longed for cultivation methods for a long time. "You child, what is this?" Fairy Xianhua seemed to like Xiaohua very much. She laughed and scolded. "What kind of gift is this? Every disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect has their own cultivation method pavilion in each lightning palace. As long as your cultivation is sufficient, you can naturally go to the cultivation method pavilion to find a suitable cultivation method for you." Qian Leizi thought for a moment, then slapped his hand and took out a token from his storage bag. He struck it with a spell. After a flash of light, he waved his hand and the token flew in front of Xiaohua, saying, "Xiaohua, take this token. With this token, you can study all the cultivation methods of the cultivation method pavilions of the Imperial Thunder sect's 8 great lightning palaces." Xiaohua was overjoyed, but his face was full of shock. "Sect Master, isn't this inappropriate?" "Yes, Sect Master. I'm afraid this method will do more harm than good, right?" Lei Mengzhenren also tried to stop him. This Sect Master knows." Qian Leizi waved his hand and said, "However, except for the ancient books of the Thunder Palace, you can only study the cultivation methods of the other lightning palaces by yourself. In addition, Lei Meng and Xiaohua's spirit stones and elixirs will be double the standard of ordinary disciples. This shouldn't be difficult, right?" Qian Leizi said again. "Of course." Lei Mengzhenren nodded. "In addition, the chores of the Thunder Palace. Xiaohua can choose from them. Don't make it difficult for him." "Yes, disciple understands." "Well, Xiaohua, take this token. You have made great contributions to the sect, so these rewards are still too light. If you have any requests in the future, you can ask Lei Meng. Disciple is afraid. Xiaohua took the token and said very respectfully. Of course, you are now a low-level disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. This is the most important thing you should remember. Don't let your previous contributions drag down your cultivation and make you slack off. Qian Lazy warned again. Yes, disciple understands. Thank you for your warning, Sect Master. Xiaohua bowed. You have worked hard to guard the myriad Thunder Valley and made great contributions to the Imperial Thunder Sect. How can I not know if others don't know? Qian Lazy said to Xiaohua in a pleasant tone. You must have thought about the Thunder Escape art for a long time. I will allow Xiaohua to copy it and you will teach him. Yes, disciple understands. Disciple is very grateful. Xiaohua's face was filled with joy and blush. He quickly bowed and thanked Qian Lazy. Well, you can leave now. Qian Lazy waved his hand and said with a smile. Yes, disciple will leave now. Xiaohua bowed and left. After the two of them left, Qian Lazy smiled and said to Zhen Sheng. Zhen Sheng, you have made a great contribution this time. I will remember it in my heart. Zhen Sheng quickly said. Disciple is just making a suggestion. Xiaohua has worked hard, and we don't know where Qinghua is right now. Disciple can't say that I have made any contribution. Hehe, don't tell me that your martial uncle Xianhua is afraid that you don't understand. Thank you, martial uncle and sect master. Disciple just felt uncomfortable when he saw how arrogant the Xianghua sect was. Zhen quickly explained. Well, let's not talk about this for now. I think that once the thunder-devouring bead appears, the Xianghua sect and the other two sects will definitely relax their attention on the Imperial Thunder Sect and the Western Huang Town. Of course, for the next 10 years, we don't have to pay too much attention to Shihuang Town. We even have to release a little bit of news about Qinghua's return. Qinghua will need at least 10 years to recuperate. Even if this sect head were to find Qinghua now, we wouldn't be able to wake him up. Otherwise, Qinghua's efforts over the past 2 years would be for naught, or even worse. Disciple understands. Zhen nodded and said, the soul oblivion art is a taboo. However, disciple will occasionally send disciples to the Western Huang Town. If there is an opportunity, well, since you know how powerful it is, go and do it. Qian Lazy said with a smile. Also, how is the recruitment of disciples this year? Sect Master, this year we recruited a total of 94 disciples. 73 of them have found a master, and 21 of them have been accepted into Zhenlei Palace. They will be taught by the technique imparting disciples. Why are there still 94 disciples? Are there even zeros? Can't we just recruit 100 disciples? Reverend Miyu said with a smile. Yes, martial uncle knows. Previously, we also decided on 100 disciples. Who would have thought Dui Jia, who was standing at the side, said with a smile. Ha ha ha, this Xiaohua is really interesting. He is really a rogue cultivator. He doesn't have the temperament and skill of a disciple of a cultivation family. Fairy Xianhua laughed. Xiaohua is naturally a rogue cultivator. When disciple went to the Thunder Cave last time, I saw him. He seemed to be going through the Heaven Forsaken's test and wanted to join the Heaven Forsaken sect. Lei Meng explained his encounter with Xiaohua. This Xiaohua seems to be fated with my Imperial Thunder sect. Qian Lazy said with a smile. I guess you didn't expect him to be your disciple that day, right? Of course. His cultivation is too shallow. Disciple just said a few words to encourage him. Do you really want to accept a rogue cultivator as your disciple? Reverend Lei Meng nodded. Rogue cultivators can't be underestimated. They are just scattered sand. If there is a plate to gather them together, they will be a very strong force. Qian Lazy said again, that cultivator who organized the Heaven Forsaken sect is also a person with foresight. Sect Master, don't worry. 2 years ago, disciple heard that the founder of the Heaven Forsaken sect had disappeared. The Heaven Forsaken sect only exists in name. I guess it has already been forgotten by others. Reverend Lei Meng said with a smile. Chapter 1539. En Zhensheng Dui Jie, you have worked hard in selecting disciples. Go and rest. Qian Lazy waved his hand and said. Yes, we will leave now. Zhen Sheng and Duijie bowed and left. After the two left the Great Thunder Hall, Qianlezi looked at the 5 people beside him and said in a low voice, "What Xianhua said is very reasonable. Our Imperial Thunder Sect's lightning pool is made with the thunder-devouring bead as the prototype. However, this lightning pool is a fake after all. Even though it can simulate the birth and death of lightning, it is not something made by nature and cannot adjust itself. It cannot adapt to any slight changes in the heavenly lightning. Now that we have the real lightning-devouring bead, we can make use of it. Firstly, we can use the lightning water from the lightning pool to nourish the lightning-devouring bead and accelerate its maturity. Secondly, we can use the lightning-devouring bead to deal with the changes in the heavenly lightning." Sect Master is right. Fairy Xianhua nodded. I also feel that the lightning pool and the thunder-devouring bead complement each other. More importantly, we can clearly see the birth and destruction of lightning of the thunder-devouring bead. It will be more beneficial for Sect Master to comprehend the thunder amplification method. Of course, I also need the help of martial uncles. Don't make any mistakes, Qianlezi said solemnly. Leaving aside the fact that Master Qianlezi and the others were discussing the Imperial Lightning Sect's matters in the Great Thunder Hall, Xiaohua had also followed Helpless out of the Great Thunder Hall. Helpless didn't say anything else as he used the lightning escape technique to fly out of the Thunder Immortal Peak. Along the way, Helplessness bowed his head and didn't say anything. When Xiaohua saw this, he didn't dare to say anything. After flying for a long time, he saw that there weren't any Imperial Thunder Sect disciples flying around. He helplessly landed. Xiaohua didn't understand. He thought it was the 10,000 Thunder Valley. However, after looking around, it didn't seem like anyone lived there. He also couldn't see anything important. Only then did he look at Helplessness. At this time, Helplessness was also looking at Xiaohua. Helplessness frowned and said, "Xiaohua, do you really want to be my disciple?" Xiaohua saw this and said very respectfully, "If disciple isn't sincere, why would I refuse in front of Sect Master? And since you think of me as your master, then Master will also think of you as my disciple. There are some things I need to make clear to you," Helplessness said very seriously. Xiaohua's heart trembled as he nodded his head like a chick pecking at rice. "And Xiaohua, do you think it's better to be in the limelight in the Imperial Thunder Sect and shine all day long? Or is it better to remain unknown and improve my cultivation?" Xiaohua's heart relaxed, and a warm current flowed through him. He said with a smile, "Look at what Master said, it's naturally good to raise my cultivation. Then do you think you've made a great contribution to the Imperial Thunder Sect? All I did was bring the thunder-devouring bead back. The one who really contributed was Martial Uncle Qinghua." Xiaohua shook his head. "Pa, what Senior Uncle Qinghua? Remember to call him Senior Uncle Qinghua." He helplessly spat out a mouthful of saliva and said, "If this old man wasn't guarding the 10,000 Thunder Valley, I would definitely be able to do something like this." He scratched his chin and said, "Well, since you know that the credit belongs to your Uncle Master Qinghua, that's good. You can return the token that the sect leader gave you," but Xiaohua naturally didn't understand. What does that have to do with anything? Alas, didn't this old man say it in the Spring Thunder Palace? As a loose cultivator, you've already practiced many kinds of techniques when you were refining qi, creating an insurmountable bottleneck for your future cultivation. Now it seems that with your hidden flame physique, you might be able to break through this bottleneck and step into the Foundation Establishment realm. But after you enter the Foundation Establishment realm, you mustn't repeat the same mistake and practice many kinds of techniques. With this token in your hand, how can you resist the temptation of those techniques? Moreover, you're always wandering around other people's technique inheritance pavilions. What kind of scandal is that? How can you not attract the attention of others? Since you've attracted the attention of others, there will naturally be people who will investigate your token. How can anyone not know about your matters? Can you still cultivate peacefully? Xiaohua understood. He knew that Qinghua's worries were very reasonable. However, he was really afraid of being poor. He didn't want to live without techniques anymore. Besides, if he wanted to exchange something that was already in his hand back, then wouldn't it be harder than ascending to the heavens? Alright, master knows. This disciple also thought about it at that time. Xiaohua explained. Firstly, this disciple feels that although the techniques of the Imperial Thunder Sect are different from the Lightning Palace, after all, they're all branches, right? Their basic techniques should be the same, right? Secondly, this disciple only wants to look at some techniques and practice some opposing divine abilities. Alas, raising one's cultivation is fundamental. The so-called techniques and divine abilities are all insignificant daos. Qinghua sighed helplessly. However, what you said is also reasonable. The cultivation techniques of the Dawnrain continent are extremely lacking. The techniques of my Imperial Thunder Sect are also comprehended by the ancestors. They're only related to the physique of the cultivator. Their fundamentals are indeed similar. Moreover, if this disciple returns the token, then how will Master's lightning evasion technique reach perfection? Xiaohua took the opportunity to say again. Oh, isn't that so? Qinghua suddenly realized. The Heavenly Thunder Palace's lightning evasion technique is the most complete. This old man has long coveted it. Master doesn't covet other techniques? Left and right, they're all Imperial Thunder Sect's techniques. This disciple can also report to Sect Master and see if there's anything he can reveal? Xiaohua said in a low voice again. Nonsense. Sect Master has already warned you. You must not provoke Sect Master. Qinghua scolded with a smile on his face. All right, just take it as this disciple didn't say anything. Xiaohua said with a smile. Hehe, you're actually quite interesting. You're much better than your eldest senior brother. Seeing Xiaohua's mischievous smile, Qinghua didn't get angry. What's wrong with eldest senior brother? Xiaohua seemed to have thought of Gong Mingwei. Hehe, you'll know when you go to the Myriad Thunder Valley. Qinghua didn't want to talk about this eldest senior brother anymore. Master, this disciple forgot. Martial Uncle Qinghua. Martial Uncle gave this disciple a token. This disciple didn't take it out just now. Xiaohua suddenly remembered and exclaimed. Qinghua thought for a moment and said, forget it. Don't go today. Wait for a chance in the future. From the looks of it, Sect Master and Martial Ancestor might be discussing the lightning-devouring bead. Won't you be disturbing them if you go? This disciple understands. Xiaohua nodded. Let's go. We'll go to the Myriad Thunder Valley today. You can also get to know the sect first. It'll be convenient for you when you come back in the future. Qinghua waved his hand and said. Master, what do you mean? Don't I live in the Myriad Thunder Valley? Xiaohua was surprised. And, of course you don't live in the Myriad Thunder Valley. Qinghua waved his hand helplessly and brought Xiaohua along. They rushed to the Myriad Thunder Valley, while explaining to Xiaohua. It turned out that in the Imperial Thunder Sect, all cultivators below the Foundation Establishment stage lived in the Zhenlei Palace and the Conversion Thunder Palace to cultivate. Xiaohua, for example, usually stayed in the Conversion Thunder Palace and did some chores for the Imperial Thunder Sect in exchange for spirit stones and medicinal pills. Only when they encountered difficulties in cultivation, or at fixed times would they have the opportunity to go to the Myriad Thunder Valley to receive guidance. Of course, the Conversion Thunder Palace also had its own specialized disciples who could accept Xiaohua's inquiries. As for talisman crafting and alchemy, every Thunder Palace in the Imperial Thunder Sect had a special quiet room. One only needed to pay a certain amount of spirit stones to use it. Of course, the spiritual herbs and other materials used for alchemy were all provided by the Imperial Thunder Sect. The Imperial Thunder Sect could also provide the basic yellow talismans for alchemy. Haha, it's really great to have a sect. Xiaohua almost jumped up in the air. He was still thinking about finding a place with earth fire to refine pills, but now the Imperial Thunder Sect had a special alchemy room with a special earth fire. As long as you take out spirit stones, it'll be fine. It was really convenient. Oh right, Xiaohua, every disciple has something to do in the Imperial Thunder Sect. You aura refining disciples naturally don't have to do important things. You're basically just doing chores. You have to think about it carefully, Qinghua exhorted helplessly. However, the sect master said that you can choose any chores in the Shocking Thunder Palace. Master, don't I live in the Zhenlei Palace? I should be a chores in the Zhenlei Palace, right? Xiaohua reminded. How many aura refining disciples are there in the Zhenlei Palace? How many chores do they have to do? You usually live in the Zhenlei Palace, but you still have to do chores in the Shocking Thunder Palace. Qinghua explained helplessly. You're a disciple of the Shocking Thunder Palace, so you naturally have to do things for the Shocking Thunder Palace. Xiaohua understood. After thinking for a while, he asked, does the Shocking Thunder Palace have a medicinal garden? Yes, every lightning palace has one. Qinghua nodded helplessly, but then he asked, could it be that you want to plant spiritual herbs? That's a hard and tiring job. Not many disciples are willing to do it. In my opinion, you should go refine yellow talismans. That's a place that all aura refining disciples like to go. On one hand, you can improve and control your magic power. On the other hand, you can practice many magic arts, which will be very useful after you build your foundation. Oh, I reckon that Grandmaster Lei Meng also has the same idea. Seeing that Qinghua actually used Lei Meng Daoist to persuade him, Xiaohua became even more excited. He smiled and said, I have my own plans. I've been refining talismans in the Fu clan for a long time and have learned a lot. I want to change my tastes. Moreover, no one goes to the medicinal garden, so it's quiet and convenient for cultivation. Besides, it's double the amount of medicinal pills and spirit stones anyway, so I won't lose out anywhere. These are all small paths. You can choose as you wish. I'm just reminding you. Refining talismans can indeed improve your cultivation, but repeating the same thing every day isn't very interesting, and you don't have much time. The medicinal garden is indeed tiring, but once you're done with it, you'll have your own time. It's really beneficial for cultivation. Qinghua said helplessly. All right, we'll enter the Myriad Thunder Valley in front of us, which is where my Immortal's Cave is located. You should be careful. Although the Myriad Thunder Valley is still far away, the thunder from the Myriad Thunder Valley can hurt people. Qinghua waved his hand and sent out a scarlet summoning talisman, reminding Xiaohua. Yes, I understand. Xiaohua nodded, but just as he nodded, his heart suddenly jumped. It was as if someone had inexplicably hit him with a stick. Chapter 1540. Xiaohua was startled, but before he could ask, his heart started beating rapidly again. It was very sudden, causing Xiaohua's blood to rush up, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. Immediately after, the beating disappeared without a trace. Master Xiaohua did not dare to be careless and quickly asked, is it possible that the sound of thunder is not only heard in the ears? It is also possible to hit the heart? Yes. Helplessness nodded slightly. The threat of the 10,000 Thunder Valley is not only the sound of thunder, the most powerful thing is the soundless. As Xiaohua, did you comprehend it yourself? Or did you hear it from here? Helplessness said and stopped the lightning escape in shock. Xiaohua smiled bitterly, raised his hand and touched his chest saying, how could Disciple have such high aptitude? Just now, when Master finished speaking, Disciple felt it in his heart. Really? Helplessness not only did not have a worried expression, but instead, he was very surprised. Xiaohua was puzzled. Helplessness looked like a master who did not care about his disciple. Of course it's true. Xiaohua described the rhythm and helplessness of the previous few times. This helplessness looked up and down at Xiaohua. The joy in his eyes was very obvious. Seems like it's a good thing. Xiaohua somewhat understood. Xiaohua, you obviously do not have a thunder attribute body. Martial Uncle Zhenqing's test should not be wrong. But, how could you feel the soundless thunder of the 10,000 Thunder Valley from such a distance? Helplessness said and clapped his hands. Even if a disciple with a thunder attribute, it is impossible to feel the soundless thunder here. This range was set by the senior martial ancestor. Master also did not feel anything here. Master, it's here again. Xiaohua held his hand on his chest and said. Helplessness naturally had to feel it. After a while he smiled helplessly. Xiaohua, seems like you are indeed the hope of my 10,000 Thunder Valley. Xiaohua suddenly felt an invisible weight on his shoulder. He curled his lips and smiled apologetically. Disciple only has sensitive senses, It's not that serious, right? This is not just a matter of sensitive senses. Helplessly suppressing his joy, he said somewhat incoherently, my Imperial Lightning Sex cultivation method has always focused on the lightning attribute physique. The fire attribute physique is only a secondary cultivation method. It is far inferior to the lightning attribute. You're able to sense the soundless thunder in the myriad Thunder Valley from here, which only shows that you're very sensitive to the thunder in the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. If you cultivate the thunder attribute cultivation technique of my Thunderous Thunder Palace, you'll definitely be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort and break through to the foundation establishment realm in the shortest amount of time. Hee, this time Qian Qinghua can't laugh at my disciples for being slow. Master. Uncle Master Qinghua, even if he wants to laugh at you now, he won't be able to. Xiaohua was speechless. He didn't know why Qian Qinghua didn't get along with his master, but he still remembered some of Qian Qinghua's words. This bastard, he better come back quickly. Let this bastard be envious of this old man. He helplessly snorted and said, in the past he often talked about your eldest senior brother. Oh, speak of your eldest senior brother, and your eldest senior brother is here. That guy, he's so quick with this. When he was cultivating, why didn't I see any improvement? While speaking helplessly, his eyes looked into the distance. Xiaohua looked and released his perception, but he couldn't find any trace of Qian Qinghua. He couldn't help but be shocked. At this moment, there was a loud rumble. Xiaohua's perception was struck by the silent lightning of the myriad Thunder Valley. Xiaohua's entire body seemed to have sunk into the thunder waves. Xiaohua was shocked. He had already sensed Xiaohua's abnormality and hurriedly waved his hand. A seal was placed around Xiaohua. Xiaohua let out a long breath. The thunder just now was like a shocking wave that drowned him. Xiaohua wanted to escape from the wave, but he couldn't do anything. The helpless restriction was like a barrier, instantly rescuing him from the sea of lightning. Master was careless. Xiaohua said regretfully. Master didn't expect you to be so sensitive to the sound of thunder. I still wanted to teach you the lightning avoidance technique in the future. Lightning avoidance technique? Xiaohua was stunned. It's nothing. It's just a cultivation technique that can reduce the damage caused by the silent and loud thunder, Xiaohua said in a low voice. Let's go. We'll talk after we retreat. Let's see if you can comprehend it in a short time. If you can't, you should return to Zhenlei Palace tonight. Helpless, he cherished this disciple very much. With a wave of his hand, he brought Xiaohua and flew several li away before stopping. Yes, disciple will try to comprehend it now. Xiaohua nodded and sat down cross-legged. He silently chanted the lightning avoidance technique in his heart, and began to comprehend it. Xiaohua didn't impart many cultivation techniques, but every word was a gem. It was rather difficult to pronounce. But who was Xiaohua? What heavenly laws embodiment technique? What stealing the heavens? What heavenly laws embodiment technique? All of these cultivation techniques were comprehended by himself. Master never said a word. Therefore, although this cultivation technique was obscure and difficult to understand, under Xiaohua's comprehension, he gradually comprehended it. No wonder martial ancestor Lei Meng could enter the thunder accumulation cave. If I also had this cultivation technique at that time, there would be no harm in entering. After Xiaohua had some comprehension, he secretly praised the Imperial Thunder Sex cultivation technique in his heart. At this moment, Xiaohua's heart stirred and he opened his eyes. The sky was already bright. Several zhang in front of him. Xiaohua was looking at the rising sun in the east with his hands clasped behind his back. Next to him was a short cultivator, probably at the early stage of foundation establishment. He had his back to Xiaohua and was respectfully accompanying Xiaohua. Eldest martial brother? His heart stirred and he stopped comprehending. He was about to stand up. Although Xiaohua was looking to the east, he had been paying attention to Xiaohua. At this moment he immediately smiled and said, Xiaohua, how much have you comprehended? Master, this lightning avoidance technique is very profound. I'm afraid disciple can only comprehend 20% of it. Xiaohua didn't hide it and said with a smile. 20%? Xiaohua was shocked again. At this moment, the eldest martial brother next to Xiaohua also turned his head and looked at Xiaohua with a smile. Ah? When Xiaohua saw the eldest martial brother's appearance, he couldn't help but stare blankly. The person who turned his head was wearing a clean Taoist robe, but his stature was shorter than Xiaohua's by half a head. What puzzled Xiaohua the most was that this senior martial brother had a lot of wrinkles on his face. His hair was gray, and he had a bitter expression. He looked much older than Xiaohua. In the eyes of ordinary people, this eldest martial brother was the master, and Xiaohua was the eldest martial brother's disciple. Although Xiaohua also knew that cultivators couldn't be judged by their appearance, but this eldest martial brother whose name he didn't know was far from what he imagined, right? Xiaohua's astonishment fell into the eldest martial brother's eyes, but he didn't show any dissatisfaction. He only nodded slightly and didn't say half a word. It was as if as long as Xiaohua was here, he would absolutely listen to Xiaohua's arrangements and absolutely wouldn't overstep his boundaries. Xiaohua, are you sure you can comprehend 20%? Xiaohua asked again. This Xiaohua scratched his head. This technique was indeed marvelous. In fact, Xiaohua had already comprehended 40% of it. But seeing Xiaohua so shocked, he could only smile apologetically and say, "Disciple probably only comprehended 15%? It's just that I'm afraid master will be disappointed, so I said 20%. You brat!" Xiaohua scolded with a smile. "This is the secret inheritance of my Imperial Thunder Sect's 10,000 Thunder Valley. Only Foundation establishment cultivators can comprehend it. Master telling you this can also be considered a test. Even if you can only comprehend 5%, Master will still be gratified. How can I be disappointed? Congratulations, Master. You've accepted such a cute and clever little disciple." The eldest martial brother beside him smiled apologetically and said. Xiaohua frowned, a trace of helplessness in his eyes. He pointed with his finger and said, "That's right, this is your eldest martial brother Xiangyang. You've seen him before, right? If you had 20% of your eldest martial brother's steadiness, Master wouldn't be so worried." "Hee, Master, look at what you're saying. Eldest martial brother is steadiness. That's how eldest martial brother should be? If disciple is steadiness, what would eldest martial brother do?" Xiaohua said as he stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Disciple Xiaohua greets eldest martial brother. He, quickly get up, quickly get up." Xiangyang had a pure smile on his face. He hurriedly stepped forward and pulled Xiaohua, not letting him kneel down. He said, "That year I used half a year's time to comprehend the lightning avoidance technique. Little martial brother was able to comprehend 15% in just one night. It really makes me blush with shame." "Half a year? That can't be right." Xiaohua secretly sighed in his heart, but he had a sudden realization in his heart. Looking at eldest martial brother's aptitude, it's a bit lacking. Seeing how old he looks, he's probably not young. He's still in the early stage of foundation establishment. No wonder Master didn't want to mention him. You still have the nerve to say that. A simple lightning avoidance technique, and you used half a year's time to comprehend it. You're still a foundation establishment cultivator. I don't even feel like talking to you." Xiaohua scolded helplessly. Xiangyang only laughed foolishly, not answering. "Master, that means eldest martial brother is also a foundation establishment cultivator. Disciple even dreams of foundation establishment." "That's right, disciple. Should I call eldest martial brother senior?" Xiaohua said with a smile. "Please don't." Xiangyang was somewhat panicked. He repeatedly waved his hand and said, "Although all the aura refining disciples in my Imperial Thunder School have to call foundation establishment cultivator senior, you and I have the same master. You can only call him senior martial brother. What are you so anxious for? You're only 25 years old. Not to mention foundation establishment. The medicinal efficacy of the brilliant flower pill in your body is enough to raise your cultivation to foundation establishment." Xiaohua scolded helplessly. "Right now your main task is to comprehend and quickly raise your mental state and Tao heart. This is what you individual cultivators lack the most." "What? Youngest martial brother is also an individual cultivator? And just 25 years old?" Xiangyang couldn't help but ask. "Yes, This junior martial brother of yours is also an individual cultivator. He's about the same as you. Xiaohua snorted helplessly and said, however, he has the concealed fire constitution. Damn it, why did I only take an individual cultivators? Hearing that Xiaohua was an individual cultivator, Xiangyang's eyes once again revealed a bit of warmth. He said, before I joined the Imperial Thunder School, my family declined, and I became an individual cultivator. It just so happened that the Imperial Thunder School was recruiting disciples. I was lucky enough to pass, but no one was willing to accept me. Only Master was kind. Chapter 1541. That numb feeling actually followed the juice of the green thunder fruit into Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua already had some experience and knew that this was the unique reaction of the rare lightning-attributed spiritual energy of heaven and earth. He immediately used his cultivation method to refine the spiritual energy in his meridians. Only after 3 cycles did the numb feeling completely disappear. The moment the numbness disappeared, a comfortable feeling arose in his entire body. Xiaohua's face revealed a kind of enjoyment. He opened his eyes and saw Wuxian's concerned gaze. Seeing Xiaohua look over, Wuxian hurriedly asked, how is it? Has the spiritual energy in the green thunder fruit been refined? Xiaohua was a bit puzzled, but he still answered honestly, Master, after 3 cycles of refinement, it has been refined. Good, Wuxian's face revealed a happy expression. He clapped his hands and smiled. He picked up the cold spiritual tea and drank it all. Eldest senior brother? Xiaohua turned to Xiangyang for help. Oh, Master is testing you again. Xiangyang smiled and said, this green thunder fruit contains the unique lightning-attributed spiritual energy of heaven and earth from my Imperial Thunder sect. This thing is very domineering. Ordinary physiques cannot refine it. Only those with lightning-attributed and fire-attributed physiques can absorb it. Little junior brother did not use my Imperial Thunder sect's cultivation method, and was able to refine it within 3 cycles. Not only does it show that little junior brother's physique is suitable for practicing the Imperial Thunder sect's cultivation method, it also shows that little junior brother's current cultivation method is also very good. Yes, Xiaohua, you are a loose cultivator. I heard you said that you practiced 3 kinds of cultivation methods. What kind of cultivation method are you practicing now? Wu Xian was in a good mood. Yan Qinglian poured 3 cups of spiritual tea for him, then put down the teacup and asked with a smile. Disciple is practicing heavenly law embodiment technique. Xiaohua clapped his hands and took out a booklet from his storage pouch and handed it over. Oh, Wu Xian looked at the booklet in Xiaohua's hand and felt a bit strange. She said in a low voice, Master should have some impression of any cultivation method that has some reputation in Xi. Why don't I have any impression of this heavenly law embodiment technique? Wu Xian was not polite. He picked up the heavenly law embodiment technique and carefully read it. Little junior brother, this spiritual tea is good to drink when it is hot. It will have no effect when it is cold. Xiangyang said as he pointed at the teacup. Thank you, senior brother. Xiaohua picked up the teacup, and a refreshing aroma rushed into his nose. When he finished the spirit tea in one gulp, a refreshing spirit energy also rushed into his meridians. Alas, regardless of whether it's the fruits or the spirit tea, they all contain the world's spirit energy. In this kind of situation, even if you don't want to cultivate faster, it's impossible. Xiaohua sighed with emotion. Yan Qinglian walked over and filled Xiaohua's cup to the brim. She smiled and said, although the taste of this spiritual tea is not bad, its spiritual energy is still not enough. In a while, little junior martial brother, come to our abode and have a seat. Senior martial sister will invite you to taste the spiritual wine brewed by senior martial sister. Spirit wine? When Xiaohua heard this, he frowned slightly. It seemed that he didn't like drinking wine at all. What? Little junior brother doesn't like wine? Xiangyang asked curiously. Although your Shizao's wine isn't as good as Shermu's, it's better in terms of quantity. You can drink as much as you want when you go. Xiaohua smiled apologetically and said, eldest martial brother and martial sister are inviting little brother to drink. Little brother is naturally happy. It's just that little brother didn't expect eldest martial brother and martial sister to have another abode. In my Imperial Thunder sect, cultivators before the Foundation establishment stage all live in the Gen Lei Palace and the converted Lei Palace. Only after reaching the Foundation establishment stage are they qualified to have their own cave abodes. Normally, for the convenience of cultivation, they would open a cave abode near their master's cave abode. My abode is not far from master's, so it's like this. Xiaohua looked around and asked in a low voice, when cultivating, one needs a place with abundant world spirit energy. My Imperial Thunder sect's Mount Lema already has abundant world spirit energy. I didn't expect master's abode to have more. Little junior brother doesn't need to worry about this. In my Imperial Thunder sect's Cheonglei Peak, there's a Qi Qiao pavilion that specializes in raising spirit-seeking mice. Once little junior brother reaches Foundation establishment, you'll have the qualifications to open your own abode. As long as you get a token from Gen Lei Palace and a spirit-seeking mouse from Qi Qiao Pavilion, that little thing will naturally help you find a place with abundant world spirit energy, Xiang Yang said with a smile. Ah, spirit-seeking mouse? Xiaohua stared blankly and immediately thought of the spirit-seeking mouse in his space. He whispered, That's a third-rank spirit beast, comparable to Foundation establishment. Xiang Yang smiled and waved his hand, saying, Little junior brother is talking about the wild ones outside. Our Imperial Thunder sect's spirit-seeking mouse is domesticated and can only search for world spirit energy. It can't even be considered a first-rank spirit beast. Oh, so it's like that. Xiaohua nodded, picked up the teacup and slowly tasted it. Seeing this, Xiang Yang didn't say anything and just silently accompanied him to drink tea. Xiaohua wasn't drinking tea. He had already entered his space. His space was also strange. For spirit herbs and other things, one day was already many years in the outside world. But for spirit beasts, it was far from having this kind of effect. One day was just one day, and it even seemed like it wasn't even one day. Therefore, although the spirit-seeking mouse's baby, the iceworm king's egg, and the water-patterned butterfly's 2 eggs also had changes, they were far from the changes of the spirit herbs. Looking at the rainbow epiphyllum's several Zhonglong rainbow brilliance, as well as the worm eggs that were several times bigger than before, Xiaohua slightly shook his head and looked at the baby mouse. After 2 years of growth, the baby mouse's length had changed a bit. The fur on its body had also grown, and it was snow white. It was very cute. However, the baby mouse still had its eyes closed. Even if it often rolled around, it still didn't open its eyes. However, it was also strange. No matter how the baby mouse rolled, it didn't leave the vicinity of Tenjiang. Xiaohua was worried that it would harm the spirit herbs, but it never happened. Mother. When Xiaohua's mind entered the space, Goldie sensed it. Its eyes slightly rolled as it shouted in its heart. Goldie. Mother asks you, do you think it's faster to stay here? Or is it faster to stay outside? Xiaohua also said in his heart. Of course it's faster to stay outside. Goldie said without hesitation. It's always daytime here. Outside it's going to be night soon. Xiaohua snickered in his heart. He knew that Goldie would not be able to tell. At this moment, a dark cloud suddenly appeared above the reverse light. The dark cloud drifted in the air, and occasionally, lightning would flash out from the dark cloud. This space of mine. When did it have lightning? Xiaohua was surprised, but then he realized. The lightning in the thunder-devouring bead is probably because I took the thunder-devouring bead into the space, and the space changed again? It's a pity that there's only lightning and no rain. Xiaohua. Just as Xiaohua was imagining things in the space, he helplessly called out. Master, Xiaohua withdrew from the space and said, This cultivation method. Is there a problem? Helplessly, he threw the heavenly law embodiment technique to Xiaohua and shook his head. This cultivation method is very strange. It seems to be different from the ordinary cultivation methods in the country of Xi. It's somewhat biased towards body cultivation. However, according to Master's vision, using this cultivation method, you'll definitely be able to build your foundation. Oh right, which level of Qi refining did you start cultivating from? Late 4th level of Qi refining. Xiaohua replied. Alas, it's still a pity. Helplessly, he said. If you started cultivating from the first level of qi refining, Master wouldn't have to worry about your foundation. Xiaohua smiled bitterly and didn't say much. This had already happened, and it was useless to talk about it. Master originally wanted to take a look at your cultivation method. If it wasn't good, I would have taught you the Imperial Thunder Sect's qi refining cultivation method. Since your cultivation method isn't bad, you should cultivate this first. If you rashly change to another one, it might be inappropriate. Helplessly, he still said. However, Master always feels that this cultivation method is a bit strange. As for why it's strange, Master can't tell. The key point is that you can cultivate to the late 10th level of qi refining with this cultivation method, which makes me feel that my suspicions are groundless. Okay, I'll follow Master's instructions. Xiaohua put away the cultivation method and laughed. In addition, your Master's wife just said that she wanted to give you a magic tool, but Master stopped her. Helplessly, he said again. Master feels that since you've just started qi refining and can't control magic tools, it's better to give it to you after you build your foundation. Thank you, Master's wife, thank you, Master. Xiaohua said with a smile. Disciple will stay in the Imperial Thunder Sect. I'm not afraid of any magic tools from the Imperial Thunder Sect. Alas, helplessly sighing, Zhuo Minghui looked at Xiangyang and the others and said with a smile, the Imperial Thunder Sect isn't a paradise. Wherever there are people, there will be fighting. Xiaohua scratched his head. Zhuo Minghui's words were very profound, and he couldn't think of the meaning behind them for a while. His eyes turned, and he asked, then, Master, do you have any more common methods to refine magic tools? If you do, there's no harm in giving disciple 1 or 2 first. 1 or 2. Helplessly, he waved his hand again and again. You're only in the 10th level of qi refining. This method to refine magic tools can only be used by foundation building cultivators. What do you want them for? Wait until you build your foundation in the future. Xiaohua didn't say much. He had Qian Leizi's command medallion, and this method to refine magic tools wasn't particularly precious. He could just wait until later to find it. Alright, Xiaohua. Master still has things to do in the Myriad Thunder Valley, so I won't keep you. You can go out with your eldest senior brother. Helplessly, he waved his hand and said to Xiangyang, take Xiaohua to the Jade Archive Hall to register, pay respects to the founder, see where he lives, and then come back. Oh right, Xiaohua's foundation building cultivation. When you have nothing to do, go take a look. Although that disciple teaches, how can he know as much as you? Moreover, if you don't take out your 50 years of foundation building experience now, when will you take it out? Yes, disciple understands. Xiangyang stood up and said, Xiaohua, since you know where your master's cave is, come over when you have time. Although there are many people in Zhenlei Palace, it's different from your eldest senior brother and the others. Since you're new here, you should get closer to your eldest senior brother. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask him. Zhuo Minghui exhorted. Yes, disciple understands. Disciple will definitely come whenever he has time. However, disciple must drink some of the wine master's wife brewed. Xiaohua said with a smile. Still not getting lost. Helplessly, he scolded from the side. You just came to my cave for a while, and you're already snatching my wine. Bah! Don't scare other people's children. Zhuo Minghui spat and said. Xiaohua is not someone else. What's wrong with letting him drink? Hee, madam, as long as it's not for Qian Qinghua. Oh, there's something I forgot to tell madam. Helplessly suddenly thought of something and said. I was wondering why Qian Qinghua hasn't come here to drink wine for so many years. So something happened. TSK, Xiaohua smacked his lips and was very disdainful. He knew that helplessly must have something to do with Qian Qinghua. Therefore, he didn't mention it until now and pretended to forget. What? Something happened to Qian Qinghua? Zhuo Minghui was stunned and asked anxiously. Fine, you see, I was just talking about Qian Qinghua. Look at how anxious you are. Helplessly said with a sullen face. And you said you never miss him? Zhuo Minghui's face was a bit unnatural. She glared at helplessly and said, Qian Qinghua is my junior brother. He has been with me since he was young. How can I not care? Since he was young. How can you not care? Helplessly said with a bit of jealousy and sarcasm. What? It's true. Zhuo Minghui's face also twitched and replied. Oh, so that's it. Xiaohua now understood why Helplessly didn't have a good tone towards Qian Qinghua. It seemed that there was a story between the three of them. At this time, Xiaohua suddenly felt his sleeve being pulled. He looked down and saw Xiang Yang and Yan Qinglian had already stood up. It was Yan Qinglian who pulled Xiaohua's sleeve and signaled him to quickly go out. Xiaohua didn't dare to be slow. He used a bit of strength and slowly moved out of the cave. Unfortunately, he had just taken a few steps when Helplessly shouted, Xiaohua, tell me about your encounter with Qian Qinghua. Don't mention anything that sect master is worried about. Xiaohua, you met Qian Qinghua? Zhuo Minghui asked curiously. This Xiaohua touched his nose and helplessly walked back. He had a strange expression and told the story again. However, he didn't tell the truth about the thunder-devouring bead. Oh, Qian Qinghua used the soul oblivion technique? Zhuo Minghui's face was extremely worried. Yes, master knows. This is all sect master's guess. Disciple didn't see it. Xiaohua smiled apologetically. AI, you can go. Zhuo Minghui waved her hand. Yes. Xiaohua felt relieved and immediately left. He had just walked to the entrance of the cave when he heard Zhuo Minghui say in a low voice, Look at Qian Qinghua. He's younger than you, but his cultivation is higher than yours. Now he actually made such a great contribution to our Imperial Thunder sect. Look at you, you were on duty in Myriad Thunder Valley. You. Why did this old lady like you back then? You must have been possessed by a ghost. What contribution did he make? If it wasn't for my disciple, his things would have been stolen long ago. He wouldn't have had time to use the soul oblivion technique. It's all because of Qian Qinghua's things that you accepted him as your disciple. Xiaohua had a strange expression on his face as he fled out of the cave. Xiang Yang and his wife were already waiting at the entrance. Both of them also had strange expressions on their faces. Xiang Yang didn't say much. With a wave of his hand, he flew away with Xiaohua. Master and master's wife are like this. After they sat down in the cave, Xiang Yang let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile, It said that master's wife was an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator like master. Not only was she as beautiful as a flower, but her cultivation was also higher than master's. She was a top disciple from converted Thunder Palace. Many disciples wanted to dual cultivate with master's wife, including Qian Qinghua. However, master's wife took a fancy to master and followed master to Myriad Thunder Valley. Hundreds of years have passed since then. Master and mistress often bicker, so they'll forget about it soon. Yan Qinglian took out some of the spirit wine she brewed herself and agreed. Master and master's wife don't have any children? Xiaohua smelled a very fragrant aroma. He felt that this spirit wine was different from what he imagined. He took a sip and said, If they had children, they wouldn't quarrel anymore, right? While he was speaking, a burning spirit qi rushed out from his dantian, causing his face to turn red. That spirit qi rushed into his meridians, forcing Xiaohua to quickly use his mental cultivation method. Little junior brother, you can only taste the true flavor of this spirit wine if you don't use your mental cultivation method. Xiang Yang's voice sounded in Xiaohua's ears. Oh, Xiaohua put away his mental cultivation method and let the spirit qi move along his meridians. It was also strange. Along with the movement of the spirit qi, Xiaohua's mind was rushed up to the 9 heavens. Then it quickly fell back down. When it fell back into his body, it was like flowing water when the spirit qi disappeared into his meridians, Xiaohua let out a sigh of relief. His whole body was comfortable. He didn't even want to raise his little finger. He smiled and said, The methods of immortals are indeed different. Your senior sister-in-law's spirit wine is nothing. The spirit wine brewed by master's wife can make one's mind go up and down. That's what I call satisfying. Xiang Yang said in a low voice, Unfortunately, it's monopolized by master. Even I rarely drink it. It's because your cultivation is too low. You couldn't get the thunder-amplifying fruit from the 10,000 Thunder Valley, so I could only use other spirit fruits to replace it. If you could pick the thunder-amplifying fruit, you could also drink the same spirit wine. Yan Qinglian said unhappily. Xiangyang didn't refute and said, go to the inner room and take out the mental cultivation method. Okay, Yan Qinglian nodded and entered. Xiangyang's cave was much smaller than the one in helplessness, but it was also very clean. There were also many things. However, there were 2 holes in the stone wall, which were different from the restriction in helplessness's cave. Not long after, Yan Qinglian came out with a booklet in her hand and handed it to Xiangyang. Xiangyang flipped through it and handed it to Xiaohua, saying, take it. This is the method to refine a magic tool that you wanted just now. Ah. Xiaohua was stunned and hurriedly pushed it away, saying, didn't master say to wait until I built my foundation? Eldest senior brother doesn't need to make things difficult for me. I told you to take it, so take it. Xiangyang said with a straight face, Master already said that I'll give you pointers on the cultivation method before you built your foundation. I just took out a mental cultivation method, and you don't want it? Then many thanks, eldest senior brother. Xiaohua said with a smile. What's there to be polite about? If there's anything you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask me. Xiangyang said with a smile. Master was right. The lesson of building your foundation for 50 years is enough for you to learn. Xiangyang's smile was bitter. Xiaohua wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. He could only put the booklet into his storage bag and said with a smile, it's getting late. Eldest senior brother should take me to the Jade Archive Hall. Don't let them miss me. They dare. Although Xiangyang said that, he didn't dare to be negligent. He stood up and said, Qinglian, I'll take Xiaohua back to Zhenlei Palace. You can cultivate by yourself first. And you two go. Xiaohua, come over when you have time. Yan Qinglian smiled and sent the 2 of them out of the cave. She then reminded Xiangyang. It's fine, come back early. Don't she wanted to say something but stopped. Xiangyang said with a smile. Don't worry, I won't bicker with them. Xiaohua listened with a strange expression. He really didn't understand what they were talking about. Chapter 1542. When Xiaohua arrived at Zhenlei Palace with the sun, it was already noon. Under the bright sun, Zhenlei Palace appeared resplendent on the mountain peak. There were still many young disciples shuttling back and forth in Zhenlei Palace. Some were busy while some were leisurely. In short, it was a warm scene. Within Zhenlei Palace, there was a very deep and quiet place. 2 bored disciples were standing in front of a simple and unadorned palace door. These 2 disciples were at Qi refining stage level 12. They were tall and straight, with a face as white as jade. Occasionally, there would be arrogance between their brows. With one look, one could tell that they were not easy to get along with. At this moment, the disciple on the left wearing a white robe looked at the empty corridor in front of him and couldn't help but curse. Damn it, where did that Xiaohua run off to? It has already been 24 hours. Why hasn't anyone brought him to Jade Archive Hall? Was this guy killed to silence him? Junior Zhenliang, Xiaohua is the number 1 disciple in this year's disciple selection. He has some tricks up his sleeves. How could he be killed silently in the Imperial Thunder sect? Bullshit, he is just a bullshit. I heard from the disciples that came to Jade Archive Hall yesterday that this guy is just a loose cultivator. The disciples of the other clans all keep their number plates as favors, but he stupidly took it himself. If that's the case, then naturally he is the number 1 disciple. But how much is this number 1 disciple? Don't you think so, Senior Zhenming? That means this Xiaohua is also a brainless guy. If they really fought, he wouldn't be a match for the other disciples. Of course, Senior Zhenliang, don't forget that this year we recruited 94 disciples. It is 10 times more than before. Those true experts will pass as long as they can and won't put in more effort. This is because they know that the true strength is during the disciple selection and the cultivation after entering Zhenlei Palace. Without any support, it is impossible for him to establish himself in the Imperial Thunder sect. And I know, although Xiaohua's results are good, his aptitude is not good. In the first round, he wasn't chosen by the other martial uncles. In the second round, he was barely chosen by martial uncle Wu Hai from the Myriad Thunder Valley. Hee, speaking of martial uncle Wu Hai, why do I feel that Xiaohua being chosen by martial uncle Wu Hai was a trap set by martial uncle Zhen? What do you mean? Think about it. The disciple that senior uncle Helplessness had chosen was taken away by someone else. Senior uncle Helplessness wanted to use this as a pretext to make a fuss. How could senior uncle Zhen let him do as he wished? Wouldn't he have to quickly find a disciple who could be of use to him? If he doesn't give face to Zhenlei Palace, will senior uncle Zhen give him face? Zhen Liang laughed and said, "Senior brother Zhen Ming is overthinking things. I don't think it's that complicated. Unfortunately, martial uncle only has one disciple. He is far from being able to accomplish anything. In this lifetime, he will only be in the early stage of foundation establishment. Perhaps martial uncle Zhen is." While they were talking, the sound of footsteps could be heard from the empty corridor in the distance. "Shoo, I'm afraid that martial uncle Helplessness has brought Xiaohua over." Zhen Ming furrowed his brows and said, "Senior martial uncle, you're so annoying. You brought Xiaohua out of the Spring Thunder Hall yesterday, so why are you only here now? Why are you?" It doesn't seem to be senior martial uncle Helplessness. It's Xiang Yang, the one who built his foundation in 100 years. Zhen Liang's eyes were sharp. Good. Although Zhen Ming's mouth was full of praise, his eyes were filled with mockery. Xiaohua followed Xiang Yang. After flying for a long time, he felt that Xiang Yang's flying technique wasn't very good. It was much worse than his own. He couldn't help but ask why Xiang Yang didn't use the lightning evasion. However, Xiang Yang smiled bitterly and explained the reason behind it. It turned out that although the lightning escape technique was a unique escape technique of the Imperial Thunder Sect, not every disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect had the opportunity to practice it. Only disciples with suitable physiques and profound cultivations could practice it. Moreover, the 8 great lightning palaces of the Imperial Thunder Sect all had the lightning evasion. Among them, the Heavenly Lightning Palace had the most complete lightning evasion. It was divided into 9 levels. The other lightning palaces either didn't have the complete lightning evasion, or it was modified according to the physique of the disciples. Thus, Xiaohua understood why Sect Master Qianlazy was so happy to teach senior martial uncle Helplessness the lightning evasion of the Heavenly Lightning Palace. As the two talked, they arrived in front of the Jade Archive Hall. Looking at the spacious corridor, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Eldest martial brother, there were many disciples in the other palaces of the Heavenly Lightning Palace. Why didn't I see anyone here?" I'm glad to let you know. The Jade Archive Hall is where the new disciples register. Every year, new disciples enter the Jade Archive Hall. Only disciples at the peak of the 12th layer of the Qi refining realm who break through to the foundation building realm can open the Jade Archive Hall. They have to leave their spirit tablets in the hall. Is that so? As Xiaohua walked, he saw Zhen Liang and Zhen Ming standing in front of the door. He asked curiously, "Is the registration done by Qi refining disciples?" "Of course not. They are only the gatekeepers," Xiang Yang said in a low voice. The two of them walked to the front of the Jade Archive Hall. Coincidentally, when the two of them were only a few feet away from the door, Zhen Liang and Zhen Ming looked at each other and clapped their hands. A 2-colored light flew out from each of their hands and struck the 2 sides of the Jade Archive Hall's door. Shwa! A 4-colored light swept down from the door and sealed the door in the blink of an eye. The two of them didn't even look at Xiaohua and Xiang Yang, and were about to leave. Xiaohua didn't understand. Xiang Yang, on the other hand, was very anxious. He hurriedly took a few steps forward and shouted, "Martial nephews, I brought Xiaohua to the Jade Archive Hall to register." "Why did martial nephews close the Jade Archive Hall?" Martial uncle, are you Xiaohua's master?" Zhen Liang asked with a smile. Of course not." Xiang Yang smiled apologetically and said, "But I was following master's orders. Since martial uncle isn't Xiaohua's master, how can you bring Xiaohua to register?" Zhen Ming said with a fake smile, "It's better to wait until martial uncle cultivates to the late stage of foundation establishment and has the qualifications to choose disciples. Then you can bring your own disciple to register." These words were originally spoken with a normal tone, but when it came out of Zhen Ming's mouth and entered Xiang Yang's ears, It already changed its meaning. It was a pun within a pun. Xiang Yang's expression changed, and his eyes were about to spit fire. However, he slightly turned his body and looked at Xiaohua, whose face was as calm as water. He sighed in his heart and forced a smile on his face. He said in a low voice, "I am Xiang Yang, a disciple of the Thunder Palace's 10,000 Thunder Valley. Because Master is busy in the 10,000 Thunder Valley, he didn't have time to spare. Thus he ordered I to bring Junior Martial Brother here to register. My Imperial Thunder sect doesn't have a rule that requires a master to bring a disciple here to register, right? Normally, when the masters come to Thunder Palace, they would bring their disciples here. I am also an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator, so I can barely register. Martial Uncle Xiang, it's easy for you to say. Are you the guard of Jade Archive Hall, or am I the guard? Do you know the rules of Jade Archive Hall, or am I the one who knows the rules of Jade Archive Hall? I have been on guard here for many years. Every year, there would be masters bringing their disciples here to register. I have never heard of an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator bringing a disciple here to register. But 10 years ago, I indeed saw it with my own eyes." Xiang Yang was a little anxious. Martial Uncle Xiang, I saw it 10 years ago. However, I only came to Jade Archive Hall 9 years ago. I don't know about that kind of thing. Zhenming still had a fake smile on his face. Please return to Martial Uncle Xiang. Next year at this time, Martial Uncle Xiang will bring Xiaohua here. Next year? Xiaohua was stunned. His expression didn't change. You see, you also know that there isn't enough time. Today's matter is something I don't understand and didn't explain it clearly to Master. I hope the two of you can make an exception. If we register another year later, won't we delay Xiaohua's cultivation for a year? This is not appropriate. You also know it's not appropriate? Zhenming said angrily. If you know it's not appropriate, why didn't you come here yesterday? Why did you make us wait here for 24 hours? If you know it's not appropriate, why didn't the master come and send a disciple instead? Isn't this not taking Jade Archive Hall seriously? Xiang Yang looked left and right. He clapped his hands and took out a few high-grade spirit stones from his storage bag. He quietly handed them over. His face was already red. He smiled and said, "This has nothing to do with my master. It's all I's fault for making things difficult for the two of you. These spirit stones can be considered as I's compensation." Martial Uncle Xiang is quite polite. When Zhenliang saw this, he reached out his hand to remember it. Weighing the spirit stones in his hand, he casually waved his hand, causing the high-grade spirit stones to scatter to the ground. With a cold expression he said, "What a pity it's only a few high-grade spirit stones. Martial Uncle Xiang, it's fine if your myriad Thunder Valley is poor, but don't treat Jade Archive Hall as beggars. Even if you kneel down and give these spirit stones to Jade Archive Hall won't accept them." Xiang Yang's face became redder and redder. However, just as his anger rose, he forced it down. It's all I's fault. It's all I's fault." Xiang Yang was so angry that he forgot to use a spell. He squatted down and picked up the spirit stones. "Damn it, you've gone too far." Just as Xiang Yang squatted down, Xiaohua finally couldn't take it anymore. At this moment, he understood the meaning of Yan Qinglian's words when Xiang Yang came out. Thinking of eldest senior brother's honest appearance, he was actually forced into such a state by these two 12th-layer Qi refining juniors. Xiaohua's temper, which had been ignited long ago, finally exploded. A piece of trash that no one wants. You're actually so arrogant?" Hearing Xiaohua's angry shout, Zhenliang slightly tilted his head and scolded with a smile. "You're just a rogue cultivator with no reason. You think you can be arrogant just because you got first place this time?" Hearing this, Xiaohua was furious. Chapter 1543. Mercy my ass. He scolded helplessly. "I just wanted to find a helper, but the others were all chosen, so I had no choice but to pick you. You didn't even try to live up to my expectations. You spent 50 years to reach foundation establishment, and now, forget it. Fortunately, Xiaohua is here, so I can finally hold my head high." 50 years? Xiaohua secretly stuck out his tongue in his heart. If Xiang Yang used 50 years to reach foundation establishment, even if he was only 35 years old when he entered the Imperial Thunder sect, he would be 85 years old now. What about his cultivation after foundation establishment? No wonder he looked so old. Yes, with little junior brother, master doesn't need to lose face anymore. Xiang Yang wasn't angry at all, and smiled apologetically. Forget it, let's go. He waved his sleeve helplessly and said, I'm afraid your master's wife and the others are waiting anxiously. Yes, do you need me to send them a message? Xiang Yang was still smiling. Master's wife? Them? Xiaohua was stunned and secretly said, could it be that master has concubines? Thinking of concubines, Xiaohua suddenly shouted for no reason as if he remembered something. What's wrong? Xiaohua looked at Xiaohua strangely. That. Master, disciple wants to ask you, a disciple of a gold core stage cultivator. How should I address them? Xiaohua muttered. Nonsense, that depends on the disciple's cultivation level. Xiaohua scolded Xiaohua softly and rolled his eyes. He also thought of something and said with a smile. If they're chi refinement like you, of course they should be called junior sister or senior sister. If they're foundation establishment, then they can be called martial uncle. That's good. Xiaohua's heart was at ease. Looking at Xiaohua's somewhat ambiguous gaze, his face was somewhat unnatural. What? Did a gold core stage grandmaster go to the Imperial Thunder Palace to recruit disciples this time? Xiang Yang said with some astonishment. This is extremely rare. That boy who was chosen has some luck. Idiot, it's a girl. Xiaohua scolded Xiaohua, but then he helplessly slapped his head and said, damn it, there are too many things today. I actually forgot to bring Xiaohua to the Jade Archive Hall. Right at this moment, Xiaohua also thought that he hadn't gone to the Jade Archive Hall yet, and hadn't been registered. No wonder he always felt that something was missing. Forget it. Let's go to the Immortal's Cave first. Helplessly, he thought for a moment and said, I'll ask your eldest senior brother to bring you there later. Yes, disciple will follow master's orders. Xiang Yang bowed and said. Helplessly, he seemed to be used to Xiang Yang's respect. Without saying anything, he waved his hand. Let's go, Xiaohua. Let me see if you have truly comprehended the lightning avoidance technique. Yes, master. Xiaohua wasn't afraid of anything. After helplessly flying away, he asked Xiang Yang to go first and followed behind the two. Seeing that Xiaohua was very respectful towards him, Xiang Yang was also very happy. He slowly flew together with Xiaohua and secretly used his magic power to help Xiaohua. Xiaohua's heart felt warm, but he didn't say anything. He only secretly nodded towards Xiang Yang to express his thanks. When they arrived at last night's place, helplessly stopped. He looked at Xiaohua and signaled him to fly forward. Xiaohua was very free and flew forward without consulting anyone. Behind him, Xiang Yang was somewhat worried. Thump. Thump. Several fierce sounds of his heartbeat resounded. Xiaohua hurriedly circulated his magic power and displayed the spell formula he had comprehended yesterday. Sure enough, the sound immediately disappeared. Soon after, Xiaohua stealthily released his perception. The monstrous thunder waves once again attacked him. However, as Xiaohua sped up the spell formula, his perception was like a small boat freely cruising through the thunder waves, no longer suffocating. Great! Xiaohua's face revealed a happy expression. He withdrew his perception and turned his head with a smile. It's very useful, master. Ha ha ha, helplessly's originally worried heart immediately relaxed. He smiled and said, like I said, this time this old man definitely didn't make a mistake. My myriad Thunder Valley will definitely shine in the Imperial Thunder sect. No, in the country of Xi. Xiaohua curled his lips. It seemed that in the Spring Thunder Palace, Helplessly didn't want to accept him as a disciple several times. Hey, they're here too? Helplessly smiled and looked into the distance again. This time, Xiaohua didn't use his divine sense. He just silently followed behind helplessly. After flying forward for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, two women appeared in the distant sky. The woman in front was at the late foundation establishment stage. She looked to be about 50 years old, but her skin was fair and her black hair was like clouds. Her every movement was quite elegant, and her colorful clothes were very cheering. The person behind her was a female cultivator about 60 years old. Her hair was grizzled, and her cultivation was probably at the middle foundation establishment stage. She wore a cyan Taoist robe that didn't look gorgeous. Hey, the Xiaohua's eyes flashed. He somewhat understood. Sure enough, when they approached, the well-behaved Xiangyang stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, master's wife. The female cultivator in front smiled and nodded. The female cultivator behind her flew to the side and landed beside Xiangyang. Disciple Xiaohua greets master's wife. Xiaohua immediately stepped forward and bowed. Hehe, you're called Xiaohua? You seem to be a very young child. The female cultivator smiled and used her hand to support Xiaohua. She then looked at helplessly and said, "Congratulations, husband, for taking in a disciple as desired." Ha ha ha, helplessly stroked the beard on his chin, very proud. He pointed at the female cultivator and said, "Xiaohua, this is your master's wife. Her name is Zhuo Minghui. Back then she was Ba." Without waiting for helplessly to finish, Zhuo Minghui spat and said with a slightly red face, "You old thing, you've been saying this for over 100 years. You still don't know when to get tired." Of course I don't get tired." Helplessly shrunk his neck and said in a low voice. Xiaohua laughed inwardly. After he got up, he turned around and bowed to the other female cultivator. Disciple Xiaohua greets senior sister. "I don't dare. Junior martial brother, please rise." That female cultivator saw that Xiaohua was young, and also had a smile on her face. She stretched out her hand but looked at Xiangyang. Xiaohua is only 25 years old. He's just a child. Xiangyang understood the meaning of his dual cultivation partner. As he spoke to that female cultivator, he said to Xiaohua, "This is elder brother's dual cultivation partner. Her name is Yan Qinglian." Hearing that Xiaohua was only 25 years old, Yan Qinglian's eyes were filled with astonishment. She then didn't hide anything and reached out to help Xiaohua up. With a pat of her hand, she took out a jade bottle from her storage pouch and handed it over. She said with a smile, "Senior sister doesn't have anything good here. Take this foundation building pill. It'll be useful when you build your foundation." Xiaohua's heart warmed. He took it with his hand and said with a smile, "With senior sister's foundation building pill, how could I not dare to build my foundation? Otherwise, I'd be angered by the heavens and resented by men." Ah, ha ha ha. Not only did Yan Qinglian cover her mouth, but Zhuo Minghui also covered her mouth and laughed. She said, "This child is much stronger than Xiangyang. Our myriad Thunder Valley won't be boring anymore." Soon after, she said somewhat apologetically, "Xiaohua, master's wife also prepared a foundation building pill, but Qinglian already gave it to me. It's not good for master's wife to take it out. Let's wait until we return to the Immortal's Cave." Okay, master's wife. I like everything you give me." Xiaohua beamed with joy. He'd naturally like something even better than a foundation building pill. "Let's go." Helpless waved his hand and took the lead with Zhuo Minghui. Xiangyang and his wife weren't in a hurry. Xiangyang waved his hand, and just like before, he took Xiaohua to his right while Yan Qinglian flew to his left. The group of 5 flew towards Helpless Immortal's Cave in Myriad Thunder Valley. After flying for about 4 hours, a tall mountain peak appeared in front of them. Halfway up the mountain peak, a vigorous mountain ape was standing in front of an immortal's cave in a very serious manner. Helpless waited for them to descend from the sky. That mountain ape jumped in front of Helpless and waved its arm, pointing here and there, as if it was saying something. Helpless stretched out his hand and patted the mountain ape's head. He took out some kind of medicinal pill and threw it to the mountain ape. The mountain ape nimbly caught a handful and threw it into its mouth. Then, very satisfied, it retreated. Immediately after, it looked at Xiangyang and the others, who slowly landed on the ground. The gaze it used to look at Xiaohua was very vigilant. "Xiaoshan, this is I's little junior brother. In the future, you two can get closer." Xiangyang pulled Xiaohua's hand and said to the mountain ape very intimately. It was unknown whether that mountain ape really understood or was pretending to understand. It nodded in a very serious manner and even stretched out its hand to touch Xiaohua's arm, as if it was familiar with him. Xiaohua scratched his head. He could only say the same thing he said to Little White Dragon. "Hello, Xiaoshan." Xiaoshan blinked its red eyes, as if it understood. Xiaohua was happy. Just as he was about to say something, who knew that Xiaoshan would squeak and scurry into the forest beside the cave. Hee. "I'm afraid it saw some pheasant," Xiangyang said with a smile. "This guy likes to roast things." The most Xiaohua's perception swept over. Indeed, that mountain ape was chasing a fat pheasant. Following Xiangyang and his wife into the cave, Xiaohua subconsciously nodded. This was the place that he wanted to cultivate. Helpless Cave was quite big. There were many moonlight stones around the stone walls, illuminating the entire cave. The entire cave was abnormally clean. Inside the cave, there were jade tables and jade chairs, as well as some seemingly ordinary things. In the corner, there were 2 mirrors that flickered with brilliance. They seemed to be the entrance to the back of the cave. "Xiaohua, sit anywhere you want." Yan Qinglian helplessly sat on the seat of honor with Zhuo Minghui. Xiangyang also sat on the chair beside them. Yan Qinglian smiled and said to Xiaohua. She then walked towards the light in the corner of the cave. When she got close, she took a step and disappeared from the stone wall. Xiaohua looked around, then picked up Xiangyang's hand and sat down. Not long after, Yan Qinglian came over from the other side of the stone wall, holding a jade tray in her hand. On top of it was a teapot, as well as a few small cups. Beside the teapot, there were also 2 plates. Inside the plates were lush green fruits. Yan Qinglian placed the fruits and the cup filled with tea in front of Helpless. She smiled and walked in front of Xiaohua. "Little junior brother, come and taste Master's Cloud Mist tea and my 10,000 Thunder Valleys green thunder fruit. This is something that you can't eat anywhere else." "Many thanks, senior sister." Xiaohua smiled and took the green thunder fruit. He picked one up and put it in his mouth. Zzzt, zzzt, zzzt. A feeling like lightning struck came from his mouth. Chapter 1544. Get out of here. Helplessness scolded. "You just came to my cave and you're already trying to steal my wine?" "Bah. Don't scare the kid." Zhuo Minghui spat. "Xiaohua is not someone else. What's wrong with letting him drink?" "Hee, madam, as long as it's not for Qian Qinghua." "Oh, I forgot to tell madam." Helplessness suddenly thought of something and said, "I was wondering why Qian Qinghua hasn't come here to drink for so many years. Something happened." Tsk. Xiaohua smacked his lips in disdain. He knew helplessness must have something to do with Qian Qinghua, so he didn't mention it until now and pretended to forget. "What? Something happened to Qian Qinghua?" Zhuo Minghui was stunned and asked anxiously. Fine, you see, I was just talking about Qian Qinghua. Look how anxious you are." Helplessness said. "And you said you never cared about him?" Zhuo Minghui's face was a bit unnatural. She glared at Helplessness and said, "Qian Qinghua is my junior brother. He has been with me since he was young. How can I not care?" "Since he was young? How can I not care?" Helplessness said with a bit of jealousy and sarcasm. "What? It's true." Zhuo Minghui's face also twitched as she replied. "Oh, so that's it." Xiaohua now understood why Helplessness didn't have a good tone towards Qian Qinghua. Looks like there's a story between the 3. At this time, Xiaohua suddenly felt his sleeve being pulled. He looked down and saw Xiangyang and Yan Qinglian already got up. It was Yan Qinglian who pulled Xiaohua's sleeve and signaled him to go out. Xiaohua didn't dare to be careless. He exerted a bit of force and slowly moved out of the cave. Unfortunately, he had just taken a few steps when he heard a helpless shout. "Xiaohua, tell me about your encounter with Qian Qinghua. Don't mention what the sect master is worried about." Xiaohua, you met Qian Qinghua?" Zhuo Minghui asked curiously. This Xiaohua touched his nose and helplessly walked back. He told the story again with a strange face, but he didn't tell the truth about the thunder-devouring bead. "Oh, Bluefire. Actually used the soul oblivion technique?" Zhuo Minghui's face was filled with extreme worry. "Alright, teacher's mother knows. These are all sect master's guesses. Disciple didn't see them." Xiaohua smiled apologetically. Sai, go ahead. Zhuo Minghui waved her hand. Yes. Xiaohua felt relieved and immediately ran away. As soon as he reached the entrance of the cave, he heard Zhuo Minghui say in a low voice, "Look at Qian Qinghua, he is younger than you, but his cultivation is higher than yours, and now he has made such a great contribution to our Imperial Thunder School. Then look at you, I know you're on duty in Myriad Thunder Valley. Why did I take a fancy to you back then? He must have been possessed. What kind of contribution did he make? If it weren't for my disciple, his belongings would have been stolen long ago. He wouldn't have had the time to use the soul oblivion art. It's all because of Qian Qinghua's things that you accepted him as your disciple." Xiaohua had a strange expression on his face as he fled out of the cave. Xiang Yang and his wife were already waiting at the entrance. Both of them also had strange expressions on their faces. Xiang Yang didn't say much. With a wave of his hand, he flew away with Xiaohua. Master and teacher's wife are like this. After they sat down, Xiang Yang let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "It is said that teacher's wife was an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator like master. Not only was she as beautiful as a flower, but her cultivation was also higher than master's. She was a top disciple from converted Thunder Palace. Many disciples wanted to dual cultivate with teacher's wife, including Qian Qinghua, but teacher's wife took a fancy to master and followed him to Myriad Thunder Valley. Hundreds of years have passed since then. Master and mistress often bicker, so they'll forget about it soon." Yan Qinglian took out some of the spirit wine she brewed herself and agreed. "Master and teacher's wife don't have any children?" Xiaohua smelled a very fragrant aroma and felt that this spirit wine was different from the wine he imagined. He took a sip and said, "If they had children, they wouldn't quarrel anymore, right?" While he was talking, a burning spirit qi rushed out from his dantian, causing his face to turn red. That spirit qi rushed into his meridians, forcing Xiaohua to quickly use his mental cultivation method. "Little junior brother, this spirit wine can only taste its true flavor if you don't use your mental cultivation method." Xiang Yang's voice sounded in Xiaohua's ears. Oh, Xiaohua put away his mental cultivation method and let the spirit qi move along his meridians. It was also strange. Along with the movement of the spirit qi, Xiaohua's mind was rushed up to the 9th heaven and then quickly fell back down. When it fell back into his body, it was like flowing water that flowed endlessly. When the spirit qi disappeared into his meridians, Xiaohua let out a sigh of relief. His whole body was comfortable, and he didn't even want to raise his little finger. He said with a smile, "This immortal's method is indeed different. Your senior sister-in-law's spirit wine is nothing. The spirit wine brewed by teacher's wife can make one's mind go up and down. That's what I call satisfying." Xiang Yang said in a low voice, "It's a pity that it's monopolized by master. Even I rarely drink it." "It's because your cultivation is too low. You couldn't get the thunder amplifying fruit from the 10,000 Thunder Valley, so I could only use other spirit fruits to replace it. If you can pick the thunder amplifying fruit, you can also drink the same spirit wine," Yan Qinglian said unhappily. Xiang Yang didn't refute and said, "Go to the inner room and take out the mental cultivation method." "Okay," Yan Qinglian nodded and entered. Xiang Yang's cave was much smaller than the one in helplessness, but it was also very clean. There were also many things, but there were 2 holes in the stone wall, which were different from the ones in helplessness. Not long after, Yan Qinglian came out with a booklet in her hand and handed it to Xiang Yang. Xiang Yang flipped through it and handed it to Xiaohua. "Take it, this is the method to refine a magic tool that you wanted just now." "Ah." Xiaohua was stunned and hurriedly pushed it. "Didn't master say to wait until after I built my foundation? Eldest senior brother doesn't need to make things difficult for me." "I told you to take it, so take it," Xiang Yang said with a straight face. "Master already said that I'll give you pointers on the cultivation method before you built your foundation. I just took out a mental cultivation method, and you don't want it?" "Then many thanks, eldest senior brother," Xiaohua said with a smile. "What's there to be polite about? If there's anything you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask me," Xiang Yang said with a smile. "What master said is right. The lesson of building your foundation for 50 years is enough for you to learn. Xiang Yang's smile revealed bitterness. Xiaohua wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. He could only put the booklet into his storage bag and said with a smile, "It's getting late. Eldest senior brother should take me to the Jade Archive Hall. Don't let them miss me." They dare. Although Xiang Yang said this, he didn't dare to be negligent. He stood up and said, "Qinglian, I'll take Xiaohua back to Zhenlei Palace. You can cultivate by yourself first. And you too go. Xiaohua, come over when you have time." Yan Qinglian smiled and sent the two of them out of the cave. She then reminded Xiang Yang, "It's fine, come back early, don't." She wanted to say something but stopped. Xiang Yang said with a smile, "Don't worry, your husband won't bicker with them." Xiaohua listened strangely. He really didn't understand what they were talking about. When Xiaohua followed Xiang Yang to Zhenlei Palace, it was already close to noon. Under the bright sun, Zhenlei Palace appeared dazzling on the mountain peak. There were still many young disciples shuttling back and forth between the many palaces of Zhenlei Palace. Some were busy, some were leisurely. In short, it was a warm scene. Inside Zhenlei Palace, in a very deep and quiet place, two disciples were bored to death standing in front of a very simple and unadorned palace door. These two disciples were at the 12th level of Qi refining realm. Their figures were tall and straight, and their faces were as white as jade. Occasionally, there would be arrogance between their brows. With one look, one could tell that they weren't easy to get along with. At this moment, the disciple on the left wearing a moon-white Taoist robe looked at the spacious corridor in front of him and couldn't help but curse. "Damn it, where did that Xiaohua run to? It's already been 24 hours. Why hasn't anyone brought him to Jade Archive Hall? Was this guy killed to silence him?" Hehe, junior brother Zhenliang. Xiaohua is the #1 disciple of this year's disciple selection. He has some tricks up his sleeves. How could he be silently killed in the Imperial Thunder sect? Bullshit, he's just a bullshit. I heard from the disciples of the aristocratic families that came to Jade Archive Hall yesterday that this guy is just a loose cultivator. The disciples of the aristocratic families all keep their number plates as favors, but he stupidly took it himself. If that's the case, then naturally he's #1. But how much of this #1 is fake? Don't you think so, senior brother Zhenming? If that's the case, this Xiaohua is also a brainless person. If they really fought, he wouldn't be a match for the disciples of the aristocratic families. Of course, senior brother, don't forget that this year we recruited 94 disciples. It's 10 times more than before. Those true experts will pass as long as they can. They won't put in more effort. This is because they know that the true strength is during the disciple selection and the cultivation after entering Zhenlei Palace. Without any support, it's impossible for him to establish himself in the Imperial Thunder sect. Yes, I know. Although Xiaohua's results are good, his aptitude isn't good enough. In the first round, he wasn't chosen by the other martial uncles of the Lightning Palace. In the second round, he was barely chosen by Martial Uncle Wu Hai from the Myriad Lightning Valley. Hehe, speaking of Martial Uncle Wu Hai, why do I feel that Xiaohua being chosen by Martial Uncle Wu Hai is a trap set by Martial Uncle Zhen? What do you mean? Think about it. The disciple that Martial Uncle Wu Hai chose was taken away by someone. Martial Uncle Wu Hai wanted to use this as a pretext to make a fuss. How could Martial Uncle Zhen let him do as he wished? Wouldn't he have to quickly find a disciple that he could use? If he didn't give face to Zhenlei Palace, would Martial Uncle Zhen give face to him? Moreover, in the past few hundred years, the influence of the aristocratic families in the Imperial Thunder sect has been gradually expanding. They are almost overshadowing the direct disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect. Martial Uncle Wu Hai is originally between an aristocratic family's disciple and a loose cultivator. If he was given a loose cultivator without any foundation, wouldn't it be the same as eliminating the influence of the aristocratic family's disciples? That Zhenliang laughed and said, "Senior brother Zhenming is thinking too much. I don't think it's that complicated. Martial Uncle Wu Hai only has one disciple. He's far from being a capable person. In this lifetime, he will only be in the early stage of foundation establishment. Perhaps Martial Uncle Jen is. While they were talking, a series of footsteps could be heard from the empty corridor far away. Chapter 1545. Shu, I'm afraid Martial Uncle Helplessness has brought Xiaohua here. Jen Ming frowned and said, Martial Uncle Helplessness is so annoying. He brought Xiaohua out of the Spring Thunder Hall yesterday. Why is he only here now? What? Hee, it doesn't seem to be Martial Uncle Helplessness. It's Xiang Yang, the one who built his foundation in 100 years. Zhen Liang's eyes were sharp. Good. Zhen Ming's mouth was full of praise, but his eyes were full of mockery. Xiaohua followed Xiang Yang. After flying for a long time, he felt that Xiang Yang's flying technique wasn't very good. He couldn't help but ask why Xiang Yang didn't use the lightning evasion technique. However, Xiang Yang smiled bitterly and explained the reason behind it. It turned out that although the lightning evasion technique was a unique technique of the Imperial Thunder sect, not every disciple had the opportunity to practice it. Only disciples with a suitable physique and profound cultivation could practice it. Moreover, the 8 great lightning palaces of the Imperial Lightning sect all had the lightning escape art. Among them, the Cosmos Thunder Palace had the most complete lightning escape art. It was divided into 9 levels. The other lightning palaces were either incomplete or modified according to different physiques. When using it, they definitely wouldn't be as fast as the Cosmos Thunder Palace. Thus, Xiaohua understood why Sect Master Qian Lazy was so happy to pass the lightning evasion technique of the Heavenly Thunder Palace to helplessness. As the two talked, they arrived in front of the Jade Archive Hall. Looking at the empty corridor, Xiaohua smiled and said, Eldest Martial Brother, there were many disciples in the other palaces of the Heavenly Thunder Palace. Why didn't I see anyone here? I'll let you know. The Jade Archive Hall is where the new disciples register. Every year, new disciples will open the Jade Archive Hall. Only disciples at the peak of the 12th layer of the Qi refining realm, who break through to the foundation building realm, can open the Jade Archive Hall and leave their spirit tablets inside. So it's like that. As Xiaohua walked, he saw Zhen Ming and Zhen Liang standing in front of the door. He asked curiously, Is the registration done by the Qi refining disciples? Of course not, they are just gatekeepers. Xiang Yang said in a low voice as the two of them walked to the Jade Archive Hall. Coincidentally, when the two of them were only a few dozen feet away from each other, Zhen Liang and Zhen Ming looked at each other and clapped their hands together. A two-colored light shot out from each of their hands and struck the two sides of the Jade Archive Palace's door. Shua! A four-colored light shot out from the door and sealed the Jade Archive Palace's door. The two of them didn't even look at Xiaohua and Xiang Yang as they prepared to leave. Xiaohua didn't understand, but Xiang Yang was very anxious. He hurriedly took a few steps forward and shouted, Martial nephews, I brought Xiaohua to the Jade Archive Hall to register. Why did Martial nephews close the Jade Archive Hall? Haha, Martial uncle, are you Xiaohua's master? Zhen Liang laughed. Well, I naturally didn't. Xiang Yang smiled apologetically. But I was ordered by my master, since Martial Uncle isn't Xiaohua's master. How can you bring Xiaohua to register? Zhen Ming said with a fake smile. It's better to wait until Martial Uncle cultivates to the late stage of the foundation establishment realm, and has the qualifications to choose disciples. Then you can bring your own disciple here to register. These words were originally spoken with a normal tone, but when it came out of Zhen Ming's mouth and entered Xiang Yang's ears, it already changed its meaning. It was a pun within a pun. Xiang Yang's expression changed, and his eyes were about to spit fire. However, he slightly turned his body and looked at Xiaohua, who had a calm expression. He sighed in his heart and forced a smile on his face. He said in a low voice, I am Xiang Yang, a disciple of the Thunder Palace's 10,000 Thunder Valley. Because my master is busy with the 10,000 Thunder Valley, he didn't have time to spare. Thus he ordered me to bring my little martial brother here to register. My Imperial Thunder sect doesn't have a rule that requires a master to bring his disciple here to register, right? Normally, when the masters come to the Thunder Palace, they would bring their disciples here. I am also an early-stage Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator, so I can barely register. Martial Uncle Xiang, it's easy for you to say. Are you the guard of the Jade Archive Hall, or am I the guard? Are you the one who understands the rules of the Jade Archive Hall, or am I the one who understands the rules of the Jade Archive Hall? I have been on guard here for many years. Every year, there would be masters bringing their disciples here to register. I have never heard of an early-stage foundation establishment realm cultivator bringing a disciple here to register. But 10 years ago, I indeed saw it with my own eyes. Xiang Yang was a little anxious. Martial Uncle Xiang, I saw it 10 years ago. However, I only came to the Jade Archive Hall 9 years ago. I don't know about that kind of thing. Zhen Ming still had a fake smile on his face. Please return Martial Uncle Xiang. Next year at this time, Martial Uncle Xiang will bring Xiaohua here. Next year? Xiaohua was stunned, but his expression didn't change. You see, you also know that there isn't enough time. Today's matter is something I don't understand and didn't explain it clearly to my master. I hope the two of you can make an exception. If we register another year later, wouldn't that delay Xiaohua's cultivation for a year? This is not appropriate. You also know it's not appropriate. Zhen Ming said angrily. Since you know it's not appropriate, why didn't you come here yesterday? Why did you make us wait here for 24 hours? Since you know it's not appropriate, why didn't the master come and send a disciple instead? Isn't this not taking the Jade Archive Hall seriously? Xiang Yang looked around and slapped his hand. He took out a few high-grade spirit stones from his storage pouch and quietly handed them over. His face was already red. He smiled and said, "This has nothing to do with my master. It's all I's fault for making things difficult for the two of you. These spirit stones can be considered as I's compensation." Martial Uncle Xiang is quite polite. When Zhenliang saw this, he reached out his hand to remember it. Weighing the spirit stones in his hand, he casually waved his hand, causing the high-grade spirit stones to scatter to the ground. With a cold expression he said, "What a pity it's only a few high-grade spirit stones. Martial Uncle Xiang, it's fine if your myriad Thunder Valley is poor, but don't treat my Jade Archive Hall as beggars. Even if you kneel down and give these high-grade spirit stones to my Jade Archive Hall, my Jade Archive Hall won't accept them." Yu Xiangyang's face became redder and redder. However, just as his anger rose, he forcefully suppressed it. It's all I's fault. It's all I's fault. Xiangyang was so angry that he forgot to use a spell. He squatted down and picked up those spirit stones. Damn it, you've gone too far. Just as Xiangyang squatted down, Xiaohua finally couldn't take it anymore. At this time, he already understood the meaning of Yan Qinglian's words when Xiangyang came out. Thinking about how his eldest senior brother's honest appearance was actually forced into such a state by two 12th-layer Qi refining juniors, Xiaohua's temper, which had been ignited long ago, finally exploded. A piece of trash that no one wants, actually dares to be arrogant? Hearing Xiaohua's angry shout, Zhenliang slightly tilted his head and scolded with a smile. "You're just a rogue cultivator with no reason. Do you think you can be arrogant just because you got first place this time?" However, just as he turned his head, he saw a figure rapidly approaching him. Before he could see clearly, the figure was already beside him. Zhenliang was shocked. He absolutely didn't expect Xiaohua to dare to make a move in front of the Jade Archive Hall. Even more so, he didn't expect Xiaohua's movements to be so fast. As he retreated, he was about to make a spell with his hand. Suddenly he felt his neck tighten. Not good. Zhenliang was shocked and hurriedly activated his defense. Zhenliang's whole body flashed, and Xiaohua's hand that was choking Zhenliang was blocked by a defensive yellow talisman. "You're courting death." Zhenliang's heart was at ease. He made another spell with his hand, wanting to escape from Xiaohua's hand. "Do you think you can escape?" Xiaohua sneered and increased the strength in his hand. Ka-cha-cha! The defensive light around Zhenliang's neck was immediately crushed by Xiaohua. Xiaohua's strength was originally boundless. After 2 years of tempering his bones with the fire essence flame crystal, 40% of his bones had already turned red. The strength in his hand had increased by several times. Zhen Liang's defensive yellow talisman was shattered by Xiaohua's furious strike. Zhen Liang couldn't scream anymore. His neck was choked, and his magic power seemed to have been sealed. He couldn't use it anymore, and his face was completely red. What are you doing? Xiaohua attacked Zhen Liang in the blink of an eye. Moreover, Zhen Ming didn't take Xiaohua seriously, and didn't have the heart to help. When Xiaohua restrained Zhen Liang, Zhen Ming turned pale with fright. What am I doing? This young master won't do anything? Xiaohua sneered and stretched out his right hand. Pa! He slapped Zhen Liang's face. Walala! Another burst of light disappeared. The light followed Zhen Liang's body, and in the blink of an eye, all of Zhen Liang's defenses were broken by Xiaohua's palm. This young master will let you see what it means to look down on people with dog eyes. Xiaohua was really angry at this time. He couldn't think of the word endure anymore. As he spoke, he slapped Zhen Liang's face again. Although Xiaohua held back his strength, how much strength did he use? Although Zhen Liang's cultivation was at the 12th layer of the qi refining realm, and his body could be considered to have some foundation, half of Zhen Liang's face was still instantly swollen, and his nose was bleeding. Rebellion! Zhen Ming jumped up and clapped his hands. He was about to take out his magic weapon. This young master wants to see who dares to stop this young master from doing what he wants to do. Xiaohua's cold words sounded in Zhen Ming's ears, causing him to be startled. He looked at Xiaohua in disbelief, and then looked at Xiangyang, who was squatting on the ground, and seemed to be restrained. You are offending your superior. Zhen Ming still took out his magic tool, and said weakly, You dare to attack this young master? This young master will crush you to death. Xiaohua coldly glanced at him and said, What you did to my senior brother, this young master will do to you all the same? Offending my superior? You all have taught this young master before. Moreover, this young master hasn't even registered yet, so it can't be considered offending my superior. You injured my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciple. My Imperial Thunder Sect and you are not finished. Chapter 1546. Stop bullshitting. I've already passed the selection and am now a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. What do you mean by your Imperial Thunder Sect is mine? Xiaohua said impatiently, Stop bullshitting. Pick up the spirit stones on the ground and give them to my eldest senior brother. No need, I'll do it myself. Xiangyang finally came to his senses. He really couldn't imagine how his youngest junior brother, who had just reached the 10th layer of qi refining, could be so brave. You're still not picking them up? Xiaohua tightened his grip. Wait until I kill this bastard. Let's see how you'll explain it to your palace master. This Zhen Ming instantly lost his mind. Seeing the pleading look in Zhen Liang's eyes, he hurriedly squatted down and fought with Xiangyang to pick up the scattered spirit stones. Then he looked at Xiaohua pitifully as if he was waiting for instructions. Open the door of the Jade Archive Hall. Xiaohua loosened his grip slightly and said to Zhen Liang, Don't try anything and make me angry. Yes, Zhen Liang's voice was a little hoarse. He didn't dare to delay, and activated his magic power. A ray of light shot out from his hands and hit the door of the Jade Archive Hall. Zhen Ming also did the same, and the light on the door disappeared. Let's go, eldest senior brother. Xiaohua tightened his grip and dragged Zhen Liang's body into the Jade Archive Hall like a little chick. He then said to Zhen Ming, If you have the ability, don't come in. Xiangyang's face was filled with excitement and worry. He quickly walked into the Jade Archive Hall, and thought about how to deal with the aftermath. After thinking about it, Zhen Ming didn't dare to go too far. He stomped his feet and followed in. The Jade Archive Hall was huge. At a glance, there were countless jade tablets placed in different places. Xiaohua roughly looked at the 8 different areas and understood what was going on. Here Xiangyang obviously knew where the Thunder Palace's jade tablet was. He led Xiaohua to an area that was faintly glowing with yellow light. Open the restriction, Xiaohua said coldly. Zhen Liang and Zhen Ming didn't dare to delay, and immediately opened the seal. Zhen Ming then took out a blank jade token from his storage pouch, and handed it over to Xiangyang. Xiangyang took the jade token and used his divine sense to write something on it. Then 2 ancient words Xiaohua appeared on the jade token. Alright, junior brother, drop a drop of your blood on it. Xiangyang raised the jade tablet in front of Xiaohua's eyes and said, Qi condensation disciples don't have divine sense, so they can't pretend to be a life spirit tablet. After using your blood to make a blood tablet, wait until you reach foundation establishment before using the jade tablet to make a life spirit tablet. Alright. Xiaohua dripped the blood in his body onto the jade tablet. Xiangyang was careful not to let the drop of blood fall from the jade token, and he released his spiritual will. Who would have thought that the blood droplet would actually not be driven by divine sense and could not seep into the jade token at all? Xiangyang was slightly stunned. Xiaohua also frowned, his mind racing, and he hurriedly released his perception. At this moment, Xiangyang was trying to use his divine will for the second time. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiaohua felt Xiangyang's divine sense, and immediately used his own perception to drive the blood droplet. Under the control of Xiaohua's perception, the blood droplet gradually penetrated into the jade token. Shua! An extremely bright golden light flashed, and the jade token seemed to be plated with a layer of golden film. Damn it! Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. But at this moment, the golden light on the jade token suddenly disappeared, and the jade token returned to its original appearance, just like all the other jade tokens on the table. Xiangyang wanted to say something, but when he saw Zhen Liang and Zhen Ming, one of them was looking at the door while the other was being held by Xiaohua by the neck. He also wanted to say something but stopped himself. He placed the jade token on the table and said, Next to it is my life spirit tablet. My 10,000 Thunder Valley will depend on junior brother from now on. Xiaohua ignored Xiangyang and turned to Zhen Ming. Don't keep looking at the door. Your palace master won't be coming soon. See if there is anything else I need to do? Nothing. Zhen Ming unhappily turned his head and looked at Zhen Liang in Xiaohua's hand and said, Junior brother Xiao has already been registered and is now an official disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. But the enmity between you and my Jade Archive Hall. Where there are people, there will be fighting. My master's wife has already taught this little one. Xiaohua shook his hand and threw Zhen Liang in front of Zhen Ming. Zhen Liang nimbly stood up and looked at Xiaohua with eyes that seemed to be spitting fire. If there is anything you are unsatisfied with, I will take it all. As Xiaohua spoke, he slapped his hand and took out an item from his storage bag. He threw it over and said, Also, this young master is here to register under the sect master's orders. You actually dare to obstruct this young master? Isn't this going against the sect master's orders? I am in a good mood today and can't be bothered to argue with you. But if you do anything to make me unhappy again, I will not let you off. Zhen Liang's heart was filled with hatred. Countless thoughts ran through his mind as he tried to think of a way to take revenge on Xiaohua. However, after hearing Xiaohua's words, and then receiving Qian Leizi's command medallion, which Imperial Thunder Sect disciple didn't know about, seeing that the token was almost useless, Zhen Liang was immediately discouraged. He looked at the token left and right and couldn't find anything wrong with it, so he gave it back to Zhen Ming. Zhen Ming was also shocked and looked at it even longer than Zhen Liang. You two, have you seen enough? If you have, quickly give it back to I. Xiaohua yelled from the side. Xiaohua, since you have the sect master's token, why didn't you show it earlier? Zhen Ming gave the sect master's token back to Xiaohua and said with dissatisfaction. This token like this? You two think this token is fake? If so, can you two come with me to the 10,000 Thunder Palace? When you see the sect master, you can tell him everything that made things difficult for me. Xiaohua sneered. He didn't take back the sect master's token and just played with it in his hand. Don't. Zhen Ming quickly waved his hand. I didn't mean that. I was just asking why junior martial brother Xiao didn't take it out earlier. If you took it out earlier, how could there be so many misunderstandings? Hey. Xiaohua saw that they had already shed all pretense of cordiality and he was in the right, so he no longer hesitated. He pointed his finger and scolded. My senior martial brother is a foundation establishment cultivator and is your senior. He has already lowered himself, and you still want to make things difficult for him. Why should I give you any face? Senior martial brother didn't argue with you because he is broad-minded. I won't say anything else. You two actually want me to register it next year. Isn't this clearly making things difficult for me? I want to see who makes me uncomfortable. I will make their life difficult. All right, Senior Marshal Brother, is everything fine? Xiaohua turned his head and asked. Oh, everything is fine. Xiang Yang came to his senses. Senior Marshal Brother, please lead the way, Xiaohua said with a smile. We still have a lot of things to do. Let's not waste time here. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for it. Chapter 1547. Xiang Yang nodded and left the Jade Archive Hall with Xiaohua. Not long after they left, Xiang Yang whispered, Little junior brother, today, isn't this too rash? If Master finds out, he'll definitely punish you. Rash. Xiaohua also turned his head to look at the Jade Archive Hall in the distance and snorted. These two old dogs, they actually want to obstruct this little brother from registering. If this little brother doesn't show his might on this matter, won't he be suppressed by them all day long? But Xiang Yang was a bit embarrassed. You still have to stay in Zhenlei Palace in the future. With them interfering, I'm afraid it won't be comfortable. Hee, eldest senior brother, what those two said just now. One is that the master has to bring the disciple to register. That should be nonsense. The second is that I have to wait until the next year to register. That's probably true, right? Yes, little junior brother is right. I only brought you here because the time was right. If I inform Master now, it will definitely be delayed. You see, they deliberately want to make things difficult for me. Moreover, I took out the sect leader's token. Do you think they will report to the Zhenlei Palace's master? Of course I know this, but the problem is they will secretly hinder your cultivation. Xiang Yang didn't seem to ask about the sect leader's token. He was only worried about Xiaohua's cultivation. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, Didn't Master's wife say that? Where there are people, there will be fights. Since there will be fights, it depends on strength. All schemes are nonsense in front of absolute strength. Oh, right, little junior brother. You actually subdued a 12th layer Qi refining disciple with just a wave of your hand. You Xiang Yang, who had been worried about Xiaohua, finally realized that his little junior brother was only at the 10th layer Qi refining realm. He actually didn't even put a 12th layer Qi refining disciple in his eyes. Xiaohua smiled and shook his head. It was just luck. That guy probably didn't expect me to make a move in the Jade Archive Hall. That's why I succeeded. Right, little junior brother, are you going to stay in Zhenlei Palace? Where is it? Seeing that Xiaohua had changed the topic, Xiang Yang didn't ask any more questions. He pointed his finger and said, Junior brother still needs to go to the side hall of the Spring Thunder Palace and listen to the arrangements of the Gen Thunder Palace's disciples there. Leaving aside the fact that Xiaohua and Xiang Yang were heading to the side hall of the Spring Thunder Palace, Zhenming looked at the swollen side of Zhenliang's face and smiled bitterly. He whispered, Junior Marshal Brother Zhenliang, why don't you take the pill? You don't tell me you're going to see the deacon? What? Little brother has suffered a great loss just like that, allowing Xiaohua, a rogue cultivator, to run wild in my Jade Archive Hall for nothing? Zhenliang was clearly still angry. Zhenming sighed. He looked at Xiaohua's jade tablet and advised, Then, Junior Marshal Brother, please think about how you should explain this to the deacon. What's so hard to say? Zhenliang shouted, but the more he spoke, the lower his voice became. In the end he fell silent. After a while he said, We can report to the deacon that Xiaohua is abusing his magic power in the Jade Archive Hall. It's the sect master's order, Junior Marshal Brother. Zhenming reminded. Why did Xiaohua misuse his powers? In the end, we can't escape from the blame. Are we going to break our teeth and swallow it? Zhenliang was unwilling to accept this. Zhenming sighed and shook his head slightly. Today's matter. I'm afraid it will be like this. As he spoke, Zhenming patted his storage pouch and took out a jade bottle. He threw it to Zhenliang and said, Xiaohua won't make a big fuss about this matter, so we can't expose it either. As for the future, since Xiaohua is in my Zhenlei Palace, we will have countless opportunities to deal with him. He's just a rogue cultivator in the 10th layer of the Qi refining realm. If it wasn't for Xiangyang, a foundation establishment disciple, he wouldn't have the guts to do this. Damn it, this bastard's speed is really fast. Zhenliang finally understood. He reluctantly took out the pill from the jade bottle and used his magic power to dissolve it. He rubbed the pill on his face, and the swelling on his face disappeared at a visible speed. And if there's an opportunity next time, we have to be careful of this bastard's speed. Zhenming nodded. At this moment, a divine sense swept across the hall. Zhenming was shocked, and he nudged Zhenliang with his arm. The two of them quickly walked out of the hall and met Deacon Zhenliang. Zhenming, did that Wu Hai bring Xiaohua here to register? Zhen asked. Yes, Deacon. Wu Hai didn't come. It was Wu Hai's disciple, Xiangyang, who brought Xiaohua here. Wu Hai actually brought Xiaohua back to the Wanlei Valley first? He's really something. He's not afraid of delaying Xiaohua's registration. As expected, Zhen didn't say anything. He waved his hand and said, since Xiaohua is the last to register, the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciple recruitment is over. You all have worked hard. Go to Qiqiao Pavilion and receive your rewards. Yes, Deacon. Zhenming and Zhenliang bowed. Zhenliang looked at Zhenming and suddenly said, oh right, Deacon, there's something I don't know if I should say. Just say it. Zhen felt strange and waved his hand. That. Just now, Xiaohua came with the sect leader's token to register. I didn't know that the sect leader's token, huh? Isn't it just registration? What sect leader's token? Zhen was slightly dazed. He thought of the unusual expressions he saw on Wu Hai's and Xiaohua's faces in the Spring Thunder Palace yesterday. He rolled his eyes and said, don't worry about other people's matters. We just need to do our own things. Yes, Disciple understands. Disciple just feels that Xiaohua is a rogue cultivator. If he obtained the sect leader's token, I'm afraid that my direct disciple, and I understand. Zhen glared at Zhenliang and signaled him to stop talking. Then he ordered the two to seal the door of the Jade Archive Palace, and quickly left the Jade Archive Palace. This Xiaohua. How did he obtain the sect leader's token? Zhen thought as he walked. Zhenliang's words weren't in vain. The mountain where the Zhenlei Palace was located was called the Fledgling Thunder Peak. This fledgling Thunder Peak wasn't a single mountain peak. It was surrounded by a mountain range that stretched for several miles. In this mountain range, there were many wooden houses scattered around. Each wooden house looked very sturdy, and there was a large plaque on the door of each wooden house. On the plaque, there weren't words but numbers written on it. At this moment, Xiaohua was standing in front of a wooden house with Xiangyang. Xiaohua looked at the plaque in his hand, and then looked at the number on the wooden house. He smiled and said, 1134, it's really this one. Then, Xiaohua wasn't in a hurry to enter the house. He turned around and looked at the wooden house on the mountain ridge. Then he looked at the lush forest in the mountain ridge, and the abundant world energy in the surroundings. He said to Xiangyang, eldest martial brother, you've lived here before, right? It seems to be an excellent place for cultivation. Hehe, of course I've lived here before. Moreover, I've lived here for 50 years. Xiangyang's expression didn't change as he smiled and pointed to the distance. Back then, I lived in number 346. Xiaohua suddenly thought of what happened in the Spring Thunder Palace and couldn't help but ask. That's right, eldest martial brother. Just now, the martial uncle of the Qiqiao Pavilion asked your son, what's going on? If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote. Chapter 1548. Speaking of which, it was very simple. Just as Xiangyang brought Xiaohua into the Spring Thunder Palace, they ran into a middle-stage foundation establishment disciple. That disciple obviously knew Xiangyang. With a smile on his face he asked, Senior Martial Brother Xiang, where's your son? Why didn't he come to the Spring Thunder Palace? Xiangyang's expression didn't change, and he waved his hand. It's still early. This child is naughty and hasn't descended yet. When he comes later and cultivates to become a deity transformation cultivator, I'll naturally bring him to the Spring Thunder Palace to kowtow to you all. That foundation establishment cultivator smiled and cupped his hands, then hurriedly left. A middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator called Xiang Yang senior martial brother, and even talked about a child. Xiao Hua had long been muttering in his heart, but thinking that this might be his eldest senior martial brother's private matter, and that he didn't see him in the Immortal's cave, he felt embarrassed to ask too much. However, in the side hall of the Spring Thunder Palace, they ran into several foundation establishment disciples. Every one of these people asked Xiang Yang the same question, and Xiang Yang's answers were also the same. However, some disciples smiled kindly, while others sneered or even ridiculed him. Therefore, Xiao Hua couldn't help but ask at this time. It's nothing. Xiang Yang's expression was as calm as water. The few disciples I ran into just now all know me. They also lived in this wooden house in the past. Their aptitudes were good, so they quickly cultivated to the foundation establishment realm. However, I was unable to reach the foundation establishment realm. I cultivated for 50 years before I was lucky enough to step into the foundation establishment realm. However, I feel that my aptitudes aren't good enough, but my son might not be. My son might not be suitable for cultivation in the future, but as long as he's suitable for cultivation, he'll definitely become a deity transformation cultivator. Eldest senior martial brother. That can't be right? Xiao Hua was somewhat stunned. He finally understood that Xiang Hua thought of his son as an immortal descending from the heavens. As long as he cultivated, he'd definitely become a deity transformation cultivator. Speaking of his dream, Xiang Hua's face was somewhat excited, and he said with a smile, "Did you know? Little junior martial brother, I've already thought of a name for the child." "What's his name?" Xiao Hua's curiosity was greatly aroused. "Xiang Zhili," Xiang Yang said very proudly. "A deity transformation cultivator who knows etiquette." Good name." Xiao Hua gave him a thumbs up and said, "Then little brother will quietly wait for little martial nephew's arrival." Sigh, hearing this, the originally excited Xiang Yang sighed and said, "Let's go and see junior brother's wooden house." Xiao Hua knew that Xiang Yang had some hidden troubles, so he didn't ask anymore and followed Xiang Yang to the wooden house. When he was 3 feet away from the cabin, Xiang Yang pointed at the token in his hand, which then released a misty cyan light towards the closed wooden door. With a swish, a cyan light circled around the cabin from the wooden door. After that, the wooden door disappeared, revealing an open door. Additionally, moonlight radiated from the door. Xiao Hua followed Xiang Yang inside and casually looked around. This was a simple and crude hut. Other than a chair, a desk, a praying mat, and a shelf, everything was empty. Xiang Yang looked at Xiao Hua and pointed his hand again. The same cyan light once again shot towards the door. The entire cabin was shrouded in a layer of restriction. "Little junior martial brother, I'll tell you the incantation." Xiang Yang handed over the token and told Xiao Hua the incantation to control the token. Only then did he say, "Let's go. I'm afraid that you'll have to live here before you reach foundation establishment. I'd better hurry and take you to Thunder Shock Palace and get your job done." However, just as Xiang Yang and Xiao Hua walked out of the cabin, dozens of qi condensation disciples just happened to return. The one who came was Wang Yinxiao. Seeing that Xiao Hua was actually his neighbor, Wang Yinxiao stared blankly. First he saluted Xiang Yang, then he thought for a while with Xiao Hua, and then he said somewhat strangely, "Junior martial brother Xiao, this wooden house of mine is surrounded by the residences of the Thunder Palace's disciples. Could it be that junior martial brother was also accepted into the Thunder Palace? But I don't know. Who is your master?" Senior martial brother Wang is actually also a disciple of Thunder Shock Palace? Xiao Hua's face was also full of smiles. He cupped his hands and said, "Junior martial brother's master is Myriad Thunder Valley's helplessness. This is junior martial brother Xiang Yang." "Xiang Yang?" Wang Yinxiao was slightly stunned again. A trace of a smile flashed through his eyes, but that smile was immediately concealed by Wang Yinxiao. He cupped his hands again. "So it's Senior Xiang." How could Xiang Yang not know the meaning in Wang Yinxiao's eyes? He laughed and said, "Who is junior martial brother's master? I'm afraid that when he was teaching you a lesson today, he didn't mention I's name, right? No, no. Wang Yunxiao hurriedly waved his hand and said, Junior Martial Brother's master's name is Zhenyu. He only mentioned Senior Xiang when he was talking about the difficulty of foundation establishment. Master also praised Senior Xiang's spirit for being praiseworthy, and that his willpower is number 1 in Thundershock sect. Humph, Xiaohua sneered in his heart. He didn't quite understand. Although Xiang Yang used 50 years to reach foundation establishment, he was still at foundation establishment after all. Wasn't he countless times stronger than those disciples who didn't reach foundation establishment? Why was he so famous in Thundershock sect? Oh right, I wonder what kind of odd jobs Junior Martial Brother Xiao is assigned to in Thundershock Palace? I was assigned to 100 Refinements Hall precisely to refine yellow talismans. It's said that if you cultivate well in the future, you can even practice spirit talismans. Junior Martial Brother hasn't gone to Thundershock Palace yet. Senior Martial Brother Xiang is about to bring me there, Xiaohua said with a smile. That's good. Does Junior Martial Brother Xiao have the mind to come to 100 Refinements Hall? I know the deacon in charge of 100 Refinements Hall, so I can put in a few good words for Junior Martial Brother. Wang Yunxiao had the intention of showing off, seemingly trying to rope Xiaohua in. Ah? Talisman crafting? When Xiaohua heard this, he hurriedly shook his head and said with a headache, No, no. Thank you for your good intentions, Senior Martial Brother Wang. Whenever I see talisman crafting, my head will explode. I've never succeeded. If I were to craft talismans, how would I have the time to cultivate? Wang Yunxiao smiled very elegantly and said, All right then. In any case, I'll be crafting yellow talismans in the future. If Junior Martial Brother Xiao has any needs, feel free to tell me. Who asked us to live together? Thank you, Senior Martial Brother Wang. Xiaohua's face was overjoyed. He happily cupped his hands and said goodbye to Wang Yunxiao. Then he followed Xiang Yang and flew away from fledgling Thunder Peak. Looking at the conversation between Xiaohua and Wang Yunxiao, Xiang Yang seemed to have something to say. However, after hesitating for a long time, he flew in the air and reminded, Junior Martial Brother, if you lack yellow talismans, feel free to tell me. Zhenyu and our master have some conflicts. If you take his disciples' things first, master will be angry. Second, taking a gift will shortchange him. Xiaohua clapped his hands and took out a pile of yellow talismans from his storage bag. He said with a smile, Junior Martial Brother has a lot of yellow talismans here. Who cares about his? Besides, Senior Martial Brother is a foundation establishment stage cultivator. How could you not know how to craft yellow talismans? Junior Martial Brother will ask you for them. This Xiang Yang's face was a bit embarrassed. I really don't know how to craft yellow talismans. It's your Senior Martial sister, who is more adept at crafting yellow talismans. It's us so. Xiaohua laughed in his heart and said, Junior Martial Brother was just joking with that guy. That's good. Xiang Yang breathed a sigh of relief. Looking left and right, he said in a low voice, You were in the limelight just now. You actually beat up a disciple on duty at the Jade Archive Hall. Senior Martial Brother was worried that you would be plotted against. Moreover, this Imperial Thunder sect isn't a monolithic block. Ah, what do you mean? Xiaohua was stunned. Speaking of which, Master's wife was right. Where there are people, there will be fighting. Xiang Yang sighed and said, Let's not talk about the open and covert struggles between the 8 great thunder palaces of the Imperial Thunder sect. Even the disciples within a single thunder palace have some competition. Xiaohua asked curiously, The 8 great thunder palaces' struggles are understandable. But what about the competition within a single thunder palace? Let's not talk about the ordinary competition between disciples first. That kind of competition can show off one's strengths and weaknesses, obtain the approval of the masters, and then obtain high-level cultivation techniques, medicinal pills, spells, and so on. These are all very important for a cultivator's cultivation. Let's talk about the disciples who have just been accepted into the Imperial Thunder sect. First, there are 2 levels in terms of birth. One is the children of cultivation families, and the other is the loose cultivators like Junior Martial Brother. Of course, the Imperial Thunder Sect accepts very few loose cultivators, but there are after all. Among the cultivation families, they are divided according to the size of the family. Then, according to the distribution of the disciples of those families in the Imperial Thunder Sect, they are divided into different small areas of influence. It's so complicated. Xiao Hua was somewhat stunned. However, Senior Martial Brother's words, Junior Martial Brother is somewhat puzzled. Since the disciples of the aristocratic families enter the Imperial Thunder Sect, then they are naturally the disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect. I'm afraid that they can no longer have any relationship with the cultivation families. Then, how does the Imperial Thunder Sect restrict these disciples? Aren't they afraid of being swallowed by those aristocratic families? Haha. Xiangyang laughed loudly and said, how is this complicated? These are just the disciples that they have recruited. You forgot that my Imperial Thunder Sect also has disciples. Their influence is the greatest. Seeing that Xiangyang didn't answer the question, Xiaohua carefully pondered and understood. He said with a smile, so in the Imperial Thunder Sect, the greatest influence is still Xiang Zhili's group. In that case, we don't have to be afraid of the aristocratic family's disciples wreaking havoc. More than that, you think that all the disciples registering in the Jade Archive Hall and leaving behind their jade tablets is just a formality? Xiangyang said with a smile. With the Jade Archive Hall's jade tablets, the sect master has 10,000 ways to restrict the disciples of the sect. Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart trembled, and he secretly said, good, so they aren't good people. Looking at Xiangyang, he seemed to have thought of something and opened his mouth to ask. Xiaohua was afraid that he would ask about the golden brilliance on the jade tablets, so he hurriedly asked, in that case, the ordinary disciples should be divided into the Imperial Thunder Sect's own disciples, the disciples of the cultivation families, and loose cultivators, right? And exactly so. This is also a rough division. There are many subdivisions, and Senior Martial Brother doesn't know much about them. Xiangyang smiled bitterly. Senior Martial Brother's achievements are limited when he wholeheartedly cultivates. How can I have so many thoughts like them? Hee. I'm afraid that only with such thoughts can you obtain more, right? Xiaohua said with a smile. That's what Master said too. Xiangyang nodded and said, unfortunately, Senior Martial Brother and Master aren't that kind of people. We only know how to wholeheartedly cultivate, and don't know how to curry favor with others. We also don't know how to speak human language when we see ghosts. Haha, Senior Martial Brother. Aren't you talking about Junior Martial Brother? Xiaohua had seen Helpless' performance in the Spring Thunder Palace, so he understood Xiangyang's meaning very well. He waved his hand and said with a smile, of course, my Myriad Thunder Valley needs people like Junior Martial Brother. Xiangyang said sincerely, Senior Martial Brother is too weak, too indecisive. That's why I ended up being laughed at by others. Senior Martial Brother's words seemed to have some allusions. Xiaohua's heart moved and asked. Xiangyang sighed and said, actually, it's simple. Senior Martial Brother was similar to you in the past. Although I was also from a cultivation family, it had long since declined and was no different from a loose cultivator. It wasn't easy to enter the Imperial Thunder Sect, but no one accepted me as a disciple. My situation was similar to yours. In the end, a master accepted me into the Myriad Thunder Valley. Senior Martial Brother was already at the peak of the 11th layer of the aura refining realm at that time. And my cultivation speed wasn't slow either. However, when Senior Martial Brother entered the peak of the 12th layer of the aura refining realm, Master and Master's wife had something to do and left the Thunder Mo Mountains. Moreover, something went wrong and they left for a long time. Senior Martial Uncle Qing Hu's situation at that time was similar to today's. Whether he was alive or dead was unknown. At that time, Senior Martial Brother hadn't dual cultivated with your sister-in-law yet. In the Thunder Palace, a master coveted the Myriad Thunder Valley and wanted to accept Senior Martial Brother as a disciple. If Senior Martial Brother left the Myriad Thunder Valley, then there wouldn't be anyone left in the Myriad Thunder Valley. At that time, whether Master was alive or dead was unknown. Myriad Thunder Valley could only be given to someone else. Senior martial brother remembered master's kindness and didn't dare to agree. I guarded the myriad Thunder Valley to the death. Even when that master promised to help me cultivate to the foundation building realm, I didn't leave. Junior martial brother must already know how powerful the myriad Thunder Valley is. Without the cultivation of the foundation building realm, one can't get close to it for too long. And because senior martial brother guarded the myriad Thunder Valley so, looking at Xiang Yang's aged face and listening to Xiang Yang's tireless narration, Xiaohua felt very warm in his heart. He gave a thumbs up and said, "Senior martial brother, this is righteousness. Junior martial brother really admires you." "Admire? Hee. Xiang Yang shook his head. "In front of cultivation, everything is nothingness. What is righteousness? What is reason? What is integrity? What is shame? It can't even compare to the cultivation of the Tao." Sigh, Xiaohua let out a long sigh. Looking at the mountain range that was getting closer and closer in the distance, he said helplessly, "Yes, a person who cultivates the Tao only has the word Tao. As long as they can increase their cultivation, as long as they can live forever, they can use any method. But with this kind of approach, even if they can live forever, even if they cultivate to the nascent soul stage or the spirit severing stage, then what joy is there in that? A person isn't a fish. How can he know the joy of a fish?" Xiang Yang shook his head. "Maybe they were right, and we were wrong." Xiaohua caught on and said, "Or maybe they were wrong, and we were right. Who is right and who is wrong, I'm afraid only the heavens can know. And thousands of years later, they might laugh at our withered bones." Xiang Yang said very profoundly, "Knowing this, you should know why senior martial brother is being laughed at like this, right? I don't want the opportunity to step into the foundation building realm, and instead bitterly cultivate by myself." Chapter 1549. "Oh, and then? Didn't master and master's wife come back?" Xiaohua asked curiously. "Master did come back, but I failed to build my foundation for the first time. Later, my mind was hurt by the thunder in 10,000 Thunder Valley. After cultivating for 50 years, I barely entered the early stage of foundation establishment. After that, I didn't have any great achievements." "First time building your foundation? Again?" Xiaohua muttered in his heart, but he didn't ask. Instead he smiled and said, "Hee, eldest senior brother, did you regret it?" "Hee, it would be a lie to say I didn't regret it." Xiang Yang didn't hide it and said with a smile, "But there are countless spiritual medicines in this world. But there is no medicine for regret. What if there is?" Xiaohua asked. "But there isn't." Xiang Yang shook his head. If master knew, he would be sad." Xiaohua said with a smile. "Master?" Xiang Yang's face showed a strange smile. Seeing the strange expression on Xiang Yang's face, Xiaohua was even more curious and said, "What did master say? Did he praise you greatly?" "Forget it." Xiang Yang snorted and said, "Master and master's wife came back a few years later. They didn't say a word to me about what happened. While they were recuperating, they called me to the cave. I thought they were going to praise me. But who would have thought that master would scold me to my face?" "Ah, scolding?" Xiaohua was stunned. With a disciple like eldest senior brother, how could master not be happy? How could he scold you? Master said I was an idiot. I didn't walk the path to heaven, and insisted on taking the mountain path. Also, because of my stubbornness, my Tao foundation was damaged. In the future, my cultivation couldn't advance much. Not to mention nascent soul. I couldn't even reach golden core. He also said he was blind to take a fancy to me as a disciple, and insisted on driving me out of 10,000 Thunder Valley. He also said that this 10,000 Thunder Valley was a difficult job. He wanted to return it to Thunder Palace long ago, but no one took it. Therefore he had no choice but to keep guarding here. Now that someone has set their sights on him, it's his best chance to escape. Now that I've messed things up, he'll have to stay in this myriad Thunder Valley again. And then? Xiaohua was very puzzled. After that, I knelt in front of Master's cave for 7 days and 7 nights. Finally, under the persuasion of Master's wife, Master calmed down a little and reluctantly allowed me to return to the wooden house to reflect on my mistakes. That's strange. Xiaohua scratched his head. Since 10,000 Thunder Valley is such a hard job, why did that teacher choose this place? I don't know. After that, no one ever mentioned this matter again. Xiangyang smiled bitterly. It's me who has made a name for myself in the Deafening Thunder Palace. Not only in the Deafening Thunder Palace, but also in the 8 Great Thunder Palaces. Xiaohua scratches his head again. Of course, in the eyes of an ordinary cultivator, Xiangyang is indeed abnormally stupid. For the meaningless loyalty, in his heart, he has damaged his Taoist foundation and state of mind. However, he has no choice but to be ungrateful and almost expelled him from the school. If this is not a joke, what else can it be? However, was Tao cultivation as simple as Tao cultivation? How could one cultivate the Tao without cultivating the mind? Even if one's Tao cultivation reached the heavens, without a mind that matches the Tao cultivation, that Tao will never be able to reach perfection. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A loud sound came from the heavenly Tao that was steadily revolving within Xiaohua's space. In these past few years, while Xiaohua was cultivating, he was attaching his mind to the heavenly Tao's starry sky within the space. He slowly comprehended and experienced the traces of the heavenly Tao's circulation, as well as the fluctuations in the circulation of the heavenly Tao. And these so-called comprehensions, Xiaohua actually didn't understand a lot of the time. It's just that when he comprehended, sometimes he would feel sadness, sometimes he would feel joy, and sometimes he would feel neither joy nor sadness. Almost all of the emotions and all of the world's entanglements would appear in this comprehension. As for what use these comprehensions had, Xiaohua didn't know. Of course, when comprehending the heavenly Tao, Xiaohua's cultivation could increase rapidly. This was what Xiaohua knew. He was naturally willing to continue comprehending, and wanted to know what the so-called heaven-reaching realm was like. However, it was also the heavenly Tao that Xiaohua had been silently comprehending, but had never made any progress. At this time, when he comprehended Xiangyang's sincere heart, the starry sky actually became a little clearer. The details that Xiaohua saw before were very vague at this moment. Even the karma hand had revealed a few traces of the technique. But the Tao heart, how can it reach perfection? What kind of Tao heart is worthy of cultivation? Xiaohua's heart was at a loss, but this couldn't stop Xiaohua's reverence for Xiangyang. Xiaohua stopped flying, and respectfully bowed and said, "Many thanks to eldest senior brother for teaching me. This little brother will benefit endlessly." "Don't." Xiangyang was shocked. He hurriedly pulled Xiaohua up and said, "I told you about my own matters because I don't want you to take a detour like I did. Isn't that, eldest martial brother, what little brother has gained is not what you have gained. And what you have lost is also not what you have lost. Who can know about gains and losses?" Xiaohua took advantage of the situation and said, "Look at master, I feel that he is not what do you think?" Xiangyang blinked and said with a smile, "Admittedly, this elder brother has made some losses, but that senior sister of yours also agreed to this elder brother's dual cultivation because of this. Isn't this a gain?" "Haha, that's right." Xiaohua laughed. Thinking about what Yan Qinglian said to Xiangyang, the concern in her words really made him envious. However, this elder brother is wrong. Junior brother is too conspicuous. It's also not good, Xiangyang said again. However, he wasn't helpless after all. His words were still vague. "I'll let senior brother know that this little brother has always endured silently. However, those two things are really hateful. They actually want to delay this little brother's cultivation for a year. How can this little brother endure?" Xiaohua naturally knew what this always cautious senior brother was thinking, and explained in a low voice. "And then it's fine. This elder brother will report this matter to master later, and also let him have a plan in his heart." Won't master be especially happy?" Xiaohua said shamelessly. "Stop dreaming. It's already not bad that he won't punish you." Xiangyang looked at Xiaohua's appearance and couldn't help but pat his head. It seemed similar to his own nephew. Xiaohua slightly frowned. He originally wanted to refuse, but seeing the kindness in Xiangyang's eyes and thinking about Xiangyang's sorrow, his heart softened and he let that hand rest on his hair. Let's go. Thunder Palace's rushing Thunder Hall is in front. This elder brother will go and see if there are any senior brothers familiar, and find you a comfortable odd job worker. Xiangyang stroked Xiaohua's hair a few times and sighed in his heart. As soon as his hand left, he urged his magic power and said gently, "Yes, I'll listen to senior brother's instructions." Xiaohua smiled and caught up. Shuttling Thunder Hall was similar to Spring Thunder Hall. However, in the Jade Archive Hall's position, there was a rather large side hall with the words Shuttling Thunder Hall written on it. There were many aura refining disciples walking into the hall, some with tired faces, some with a trace of joy on their faces. They were holding things that they didn't have time to put in their storage pouches as they hurriedly walked out. This is not only the place to assign odd job workers to Thunder Palace, but it's also the place to hand over the monthly harvest and distribute the offerings, Xiangyang explained in a low voice. Senior brother Xiangyang was talking to Xiaohua with his head lowered when a middle-stage foundation building cultivator turned around from the side of the huge pillar. That cultivator was extremely thin and had a few strands of goatee on his chin. When he saw Xiangyang, a trace of mockery flashed through his eyes. He called out senior brother Xiang and walked over. "How could I dare? So it's senior brother Zhenfeng." When Xiangyang saw that cultivator, his face was full of smiles. He cupped his hands and said, "Senior brother, you can just call me junior brother. I can't accept the title of senior brother." How could that be? Back then, senior brother Xiang was I's senior brother. You also gave I a lot of pointers on cultivation, Zhenfeng said while waving his hand. That was a matter from several decades ago. Senior brother Zhenfeng, please don't mention it. Xiangyang's expression was slightly ashamed. When he saw Xiangyang's ashamed expression, Zhenfeng turned his head and looked at Xiaohua. He pointed at him and said with a smile, "Junior brother Xiang? Could it be that this is the son you said would definitely become a deity transformation stage cultivator? Oh right, I heard that you even gave him a name. What was it again?" Xiangyang's expression changed greatly. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Senior brother Zhenfeng, don't joke around. This is the disciple my master accepted. He's I's junior brother. This time, I came with him on a mission from Thunder Palace." Soon after, he looked around and said in a low voice, "I just don't know if senior brother can be merciful and find a mission that can increase his cultivation. My myriad Thunder Valley will be eternally grateful." Of course. Zhenfeng laughed and said, "Junior brother Xiang came personally. How can there not be a good mission? My Thunder Palace's great herb garden needs your junior brother to take care of it." Xiangyang's expression changed greatly. He hurriedly pulled Zhenfeng's sleeve and said, "The herb garden is far away. Xiaohua still has to report to Thunder Palace every day. How can this be?" "What? Your master didn't even come to take care of the herb garden and do the hard work?" Zhenfeng flung his sleeve and said coldly, "The masters and disciples came to Thunder Palace yesterday. You only came today. What other good place do you want? If you think this herb garden is not good enough, I will let Xiaohua patrol the mountain." Don't Xiangyang also threw away his face. He hurriedly pulled Zhenfeng and said in a low voice, "Xiaohua and Wang Yinshao are old friends. Just now what? Xiaohua?" Zhenfeng suddenly realized. He turned his head and looked at Xiaohua, whose face was as calm as water. He patted his hand and took out a jade scroll. He immersed his divine sense in it and looked carefully. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He asked in a low voice, "Is it the Xiao that starts with the word grass?" Xiangyang said curiously, "That's right. Could it be that my Thunder Palace has another Xiaohua this year?" No, Zhenfeng concealed his awkwardness, took a deep breath, and a smile appeared on his face. He turned around and said to Xiaohua, "Haha, this poor Taoist was wondering who it was. So it turns out that it's someone that Palace Master thinks highly of. It's only right for me to come later." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.